grasshopper eat your heart out.
Perhaps a little intense with that.
Let's get to on cue. The Cubs starting lineup brought to you by Taco Bell.
I think one of the biggest surprises early in the season is the struggles of Anthony Rizzo, but this is a big breakout game for him, and he's done well the last few. He's got good numbers against Michael Wacha, .474 batting average with 3 home runs.
It is the 26-year-old right-hander Michael Wacha on the mound for St. Louis tonight to make his 7th starting assignment of the year. Off to a 4-1 start this season. Most recently Tuesday against the White Sox, gave up 2 earned runs over 5 innings, did not factor into the decision in a 3-2 Cardinals win. Wacha, no stranger to great starts. He got through the month of April 4-0. It's a guy who back in 2015 as an All-Star got off to a 7-0 start with a sub-2 ERA. And whether or not Michael Wacha is able to pitch without Mother Nature saying something about it still remains to be seen, because along with a full grandstand in St. Louis, something that you're guaranteed just about every night, you are also always faced with that omnipresent weather threat as it gets hot heading into the summer here in St. Louis. This one ready to start on time, however. We'll see about the delays as Wilson Contreras leads things off for Chicago tonight. Well, the Cubs doing what they can under Joe Maddon to try to spark a little bit of offensive productivity. And tonight, it's Wilson Contreras leading off.
I think Joe Maddon also likes what the leadoff spot does for a hitter and kind of emphasizes the walks, opens up the field more. And for Contreras, who's been struggling, this is somewhere he wants to put him to try to get him better.
Yeah, Contreras starts play just 2 for his last 24 and takes a look at strike 1 from Michael Wacha. Contreras, Schwarber, and Bryant start things for Chicago tonight. And there's a flare into right center field, a leadoff base hit. Big turn for Contreras as he's satisfied with a leadoff single.
This is kind of a bat that Joe Maddon was talking about. I mean, he literally wants Contreras to be able to not be that super aggressive hitter and be able to take this ball super deep. Look at this, 92 at his ankles, moving away from his barrel, and all he simply does is wait long enough to get the end of his bat and poke this thing into right field. It's not pretty, but this is exactly what Maddon wants from this leadoff spot, and Contreras in particular.
So far, so good. Whoever gets that leadoff assignment for the Cubs, it works out for them. Anthony Rizzo broke out of it with a home run as he led off about a week ago. Here's Kyle Schwarber now with a runner aboard. Schwarber, like Contreras, has not had terrific numbers the last week plus, just 5 for his last 26. He'll get Wacha out of the stretch in his first plate appearance tonight. That's in for a strike, 1-1.
How different does the body of Kyle Schwarber look, though? I mean, he has come into this season in shape and honestly looking like a different player. And that's something that just jumped off to me getting here this weekend and seeing him for the first time.
Yeah, from a physique, Alex, that was occasionally likened to a fire hydrant to one that might be a more svelte thermos at this stage.
Jess and I had a chance to see him in spring training, and one of the things he focused on was his body getting leaner and just getting a lot smoother in the strike zone. He had a great spring. I'm pretty confident he'll get it going for the Cubs.
Off the end of the bat, cue shot with some funny English. Jerko has to barehand, throw to first is wild. Contreras to second, or to third rather, and he's still running. Ball hopped into the stands, and Contreras is going to go back to third base. It scored as an error on Jed Jerko making a spot start tonight.
And for Jerko, there's a mistake, not so much on the throw, but actually barehanding the ball. The rule of thumb, if it's got momentum, always use your glove when you can. And that was a case of the wrong hand. He should have used the glove.
The official scoring decision on that's an error, then the single rather, then the error. So single E5 puts runners at second and third with still nobody out for the two-time All-Star Chris Bryant. Well, this is an early opportunity for the Cubs middle of the lineup, and it might be startling to folks that haven't watched the Cubs the last couple of weeks to learn that they've really suffered from a lack of productivity in the 3 and 4 spots in the order. And then when you stop and think about the names attached to those spots, Bryant and Rizzo, it's nothing short of shocking.
Yeah, they're batting a combined in that position, the 3rd and 4th positions of the Cubs lineup is a .211. That's the lowest of any team in baseball. When you look at those two names, but that's something you know is going to turn around with the talent that Bryant and Rizzo both have.
Here's the 0-2, and he gets him swinging. A big first out for Michael Wacha.
And Chris Bryant had to be frustrated there because that is the ideal situation to come up for a third hitter. You have one goal is to drive in the 1 run, and the secondary goal is to get that trail runner over to third base. A little anxious there. Good changeup by Michael Wacha.
So 1 gone with a base open now for Anthony Rizzo. Rizzo starting to heat up. And on the first pitch, a swing and a drive out to center field. Harrison Bader out there tonight, sets up shy of the track to make the catch. Tagging is Contreras. Schwarber advancing to third, and Chicago's on the board in the top of the 1st inning tonight.
And a very productive at bat there for Anthony Rizzo. First pitch changeup, up in the zone, just plays pepper with the center fielder. Sets the tone nicely for the Chicago Cubs offense.
For whatever reason, Michael Wacha's 1st inning problems seem to have continued tonight. That's a current number. 6 of the 15 runs he's allowed all year have come in the game's 1st frame. And now it's Addison Russell with a runner at third, a run in and 2 away. Wacha starts him with a breaking ball low.
And if you're facing Michael Wacha, he's basically a 2-pitch pitcher. Fastball, changeup. He's a north and south guy. Not much is going to go east and west. He's not what we call a spinner. He doesn't really spin the ball particularly well. And that's why he doesn't get the big swing and misses. In today's game, to be able to spin the ball is quite a commodity.
And he's in front of Russell now, a ball and 2 strikes. Cardinals starters in particular have been great all year, and Wacha no exception. Good numbers at the start of play. But St. Louis, along the course of the 4-game winning streak that Mike Matheny hopes he can run to 5 tonight, has seen their starters work to a sub-3 ERA. And it could have been a lot worse for Michael Wacha in the 1st. The Cubs will settle with a run. Chicago on the board early after just a half inning. 1-0 Cubs. Imminent as between innings they got the tarp on the field, by the way, in super quick time. And we are in an official rain delay. Something's coming that we're not privy to. The grounds crew here was on it before the game, so before John Lester can even go to work, and we can see that light rain starting to fall now. We are on it in a delay. Once play resumes, let's take a look at Mike Matheny's Taco Bell starting lineup tonight.
Yeah, and the guy to focus for me is Marcell Ozuna, who actually credits his explosion for becoming an all-star to Barry Bonds. It was discipline that has done it. To this day, he still speaks to Barry daily, and it's discipline, and then is hitting the ball back up the middle. Take what the pitcher gives you, much like Contreras did in his first at-bat there in the 1st inning for the Cubs.
As we mentioned, no Yadi Molina today. He had surgery this morning and will be gone for about 6 weeks after taking a foul tip or a redirect between the legs yesterday. Just a terrible thing to look at again. And again, no Tommy Pham, who was injured yesterday because of a groin problem and on a wet track, something they're trying to avoid. You hope that guys can play tonight without incurring any more trouble.
And you're hoping Tommy Pham gets into this lineup, obviously with the weather, but he has a chance to pinch hit. He's the best player on this team, and he's someone I know we were bummed to not be starting, but at least the potential of seeing him once the weather clears.
Let's get a weather update from our soon-to-be meteorologist accredited Buster Olney.
Yeah, Matt, I just talked to Bill Miller, who, of course, is the crew chief for this group that's here tonight. He said that they heard that this rain is imminent, that it's going to come down just about now. He said another minute or two, and they think it's going to be about 5-10 minutes hard, and then clear out of here.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, Buster's the guy, when he put his finger on that button, he was the guy that activated the tarp.
He's got we need the green screen.
Well, Ravi and the guys in the studio thought they were going to go out and have a nice meal tonight. Turns out they're going to have to order in because we're going to send it back to them, and we'll have weather updates as we see fit from here in St. Louis. Guys, take it away. Did mention, yes, the weather prognosticators were on point. It was that quickly moving cell that dusted the area with precipitation, and now we're back to baseball. And a John Farrell favorite on the mound for the Chicago Cubs tonight. 34-year-old left-hander John Lester, 13 seasons in the big leagues with Boston, a short time in Oakland, and here in Chicago the past number of years. Career record of 161 and 93. He's accomplished just about everything this game could offer. Four-time All-Star, a postseason MVP, 3 World Series championship rings. The only thing John Lester hasn't done in this game is win a Cy Young Award. He finished second a couple of years ago as a Cub. And John Lester making his 7th appearance of the year here tonight. Very good numbers in this ballpark. Very good numbers against the St. Louis Cardinals for his career. Coming off a no decision on Monday against the Rockies, and after the rain, after his lineup got him a run in the top of the first, he's ready to begin his night. Harrison Bader leads things off for St. Louis, and Lester's in with strike 1.
And when you think about John Lester, you think about the total package. One of the best competitors I've ever faced. And he comes at you with all 4 pitches, fastball, both sides of the plate, cutter, sinker, curveball, changeup. And the one big change is changeups to left-handers.
He'll deal with a switch hitting left-handed bat. Dexter Fowler next. That's after Harrison Bader opens the home half of the first with a base hit. Yeah, I'm always wondering about this kind of thing. You get the rain delay early in a ball game, and the guys in the studio did a nice job talking about this, Alex, but from where you sit as a position player, you get ready for baseball, and then there's a 30-minute rain delay, and now you're supposed to refocus and get back out there. We always talk about it from a starting pitching standpoint, how difficult it must be to warm up, sit, and then go back out there. What about for you?
It's a nightmare. 30 minutes is about right. You can restart the engine again. Once it starts getting north of an hour, hour and 30 minutes, it is really hard to restart.
Here's Dexter Fowler now, the switch hitter in from the right side, and Lester starts him with a strike. Fowler in from the right side, and that's noteworthy, of course, against the southpaw on the mound, but batting just 1 for 25 from that side of the plate. The results have been a little better from the left side, but as you saw a moment ago, not by much. Fowler is among the Cardinals, Jess, that you talked about when we went on the air. And if you're a glass half full Cardinal fan, you say, well, this team's in first place, despite the fact that guys like Fowler and company haven't really given us their best yet.
Well, and you look at the numbers that Dexter Fowler has over the course of his career, and it's been a long career, and you know that the potential is so much greater, but we're seeing a few Cardinals hitters, and you could say the same for the Cubs right now. I mean, this division, there's a reason why there's so many teams clogged together, and it's because there's been especially these two, a lack of offense from their biggest stars.
Get a good look at Bader off the bag at first. He's stolen 4 bags in 5 tries this year. The running game is always a talking point with John Lester on the mound. A couple of years ago, Joe Madden, David Ross came up with what they call the triangle defense. And those were a series of nuances between pitcher, catcher, and first base, designed to minimize Lester's inability to throw to first base.
Well, you can see what Anthony Rizzo will do is instead of being at the bag, he'll kind of go with the runner a little bit. As Bader leads off, Rizzo will follow him, help kind of cut down a little bit of the gap between Bader and him. But this is a big, issue. But we have not seen a team yet, especially this season, really take advantage of it, even though Lester struggles to throw to first base.
See Rizzo dancing around. Bader got a great jump, and Fowler fouls it away.
And look for the Cardinals to have a lot of movement. Sometimes they'll take a smaller lead and go. Sometimes they'll get a larger lead, which will be a one-way lead coming back to first base. And look for the Cubs to neutralize the Cardinals running by two things. One is John Lester's very fast to the plate, 1-1, 1-2, and Contreras throws. He has a bazooka for an arm.
There he goes again, and Fowler again fouls it away. We've heard the John Lester trouble with the throw to first story a lot since that wart was exposed in the AL wildcard game by the Royals in 2014. As you mentioned, Jess, he still wins. It hasn't really changed what he does. And in fact, there's another side to that argument, that in fact it can be a bigger challenge for a base runner. Bader running for a third straight time on ball 4 to Fowler.
And those are the exact same at-bats that Joe Maddon misses for the Cubs. It was the combination of Dexter Fowler and Ben Zobrist being the mature, the adult in the room in a very young roster that allows those guys to swing for the fences, while these two guys are the guys that will work the count just like that.
So the Cardinals have something cooking here early with runners at first and second, and an opportunity now for the first baseman Jose Martinez, who's hit safely in 10 of his last 13. Bader and Fowler, good speed aboard, and Bader's running. Throw down from Contreras is in. Plenty of time to get him.
And this is a ginormous, humongous mistake in the first inning. One, you're making the first out at third base. Number two, Dexter Fowler did not follow, so it's a double negative.
Yeah.
Never make the first out at third base, especially leading off the game.
I mean, that ball was waiting for him, not even close at third base.
Well, and Alex mentioned it. I mean, Contreras has the arm. Lester has the quick time to home. The one weakness that's there is the fact that you can get a huge lead because of him. The chances of him being able to pick you off are minimal to none. He's got to bounce pass it to second or first. And Bader wasn't getting any sort of huge lead against Lester.
So a runner at first with one gone now for Martinez on a 1-ball-1-strike count. And that's exactly what we started discussing before ball 4 to Fowler. The fact that as a base runner, you know that he's not going to throw over there on you. So you get off to these enormous leads and you feel like you're on an island. And that might in fact take away from your ability to get a secondary lead, get that running head start that's so important.
You know, that's exactly right. You know, the other thing is when you have a runner, take this situation right here. Your peripheral vision, you can actually see Dexter Fowler. So if he's out there jumping around, that's going to be very disruptive to your game plan. And as a hitter, you hate it.
3 balls and a strike meanwhile to Jose Martinez. And Martinez rolls over to shortstop. Russell to Baez, back to Rizzo, and just like that, the flicker of a flame is snuffed out. First and second with nobody out, and the Cardinals are turned away in the first. And in regards to the question just asked, the National League wins leader, it's Max Scherzer, who was brilliant today. 15 strikeouts in a no decision. Michael Wacha among those with 4, kind of hot on his heels. Wacha back to work after an opportunity went away in the bottom of the first inning for St. Louis to put a run on the board. It's a 1-0 Cubs lead, and Wacha will face Ian Happ, Javi Baez, and Jason Hayward in the second.
Did you see how fired up Max Scherzer was today? Getting taken out of the game. Speaking of pitchers with 6 wins, had a chance to get another one, and Ooh, Davey Martinez looks scared to go out there.
Of course, Dave Martinez studied at the foot of the master Joe Madden for quite a long time. A decade as his bench coach here in Chicago and in Tampa St. Pete. Ian Happ ready to lead things off in the Chicago half of the second. So it's been a good 45 plus minutes between pitches for Michael Wacha between the end of the first and his starting here in the second now. A swing and a miss by Ian Happ, who's done a lot of that of late. You see his numbers against Michael Wacha. Maybe this is the kind of matchup that can get him going. He has missed on nearly half the swings he's taken this year. Let's take a better look via StatCast, powered by AWS. 46% is the actual number, second highest rate in the big leagues. Jake Marisnick, the only who has swung and missed more. Chili Davis, the Cubs' new hitting coach, with quite a lot to work with, but with quite a big challenge. Inheriting a lineup that has postseason experience, but is still, in a baseball sense, on the younger side of the equation. And here's the 3-2 home to Happ. Here's ball 4. Couple of strikeouts for Michael Wacha in the first, Alex.
Yeah, and for Michael Wacha, we talked about it, is north and south, adding and subtracting. Here's the fastball at 96 miles an hour, speeds him up. And here's the same changeup from the same high arm angle, power changeup 89 for a very big strikeout in the first against Chris Bryant.
Loses the leadoff hitter here in the second, and now it's Javier Baez. Baez begins play, having hit safely in 14 of his last 16, as that throw to first is a keep him close move for Happ. Cubs don't run a lot. In fact, the fewest stolen bases in the National League as a team. You know, among the things to watch tonight on this side of the scorecard, the fact that, as we mentioned, Yadi Molina is not available tonight, nor will he be for the next 6 or so weeks after surgery this morning. Means Francisco Pena catches. The Cardinals did make a move with their AAA roster to bring up an additional backstop. A one-hopper sharply hit to Wong. To DeYoung for one. Back to Martinez, the double play.
Not only does Kolten Wong read this off the bat so well, but he gets low to the ground and has such athleticism to be able to do this. So it's a hard hit ball. He wants to get down even with it, and to be able to get himself in position to go to second base. Such a sweet, quick move, and that's why Kolten Wong, whether he's hitting or not, you're going to see him at second base because of that D.
He could land a plane with what's going on in his arms. I didn't know which one was the tat sleeve and which one was the other sleeve. Jason Hayward, the batter, now sends a fly ball the other way for Marcell Ozuna. Nothing comes of the leadoff walk. An inning and a half gone in St. Louis. Chicago with an early 1-0 lead. To another, I know that Alex Rodriguez was among those curious about the equipment. Guy has a big year like Marcell Ozuna does last year, his final season in South Florida. And you, a guy who hit almost 700 home runs, wanted to know what kind of shillelagh he swings.
Yeah, I mean, he actually was convinced by Barry Bonds, obviously his coach with the Marlins, to go from ash to maple. And they actually used the exact same bat. Today, he was showing me the grip. The grip has actually given him a little bit of a sore finger, so he had to change his grip a little bit. But the one thing besides the bat, Barry Bonds advocates patience, patience, patience.
Ozuna starting his Cardinal career with a .260 batting average. Hasn't gotten it heated up to what fans here are expecting of him. I was surprised, by the way, to hear that you never swung a maple bat. That was all the rage back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Chopper to shortstop. Russell plays the hop. And there's one away for John Lester in the second. More great Major League action coming your way tomorrow on Monday Night Baseball. The Twins and Cardinals, 8 Eastern on ESPN. Wednesday night, Red Sox and Yankees. Price and Tanaka from the Bronx. The red-hot Yankees, winners of 15 of their last 16. And then Alex, Jess, Buster, and I will be in the desert next Sunday for the Nationals and Diamondbacks, 8 Eastern on ESPN. One gone for Jed Jerko. Jerko at .260 with a couple of home runs, 19 driven in limited action this year. You know, for John Lester, one box already checked tonight, as the Cubs were able to throw out an attempted base stealing thief. Here's another challenge for John tonight. The guy behind the plate, and I'm not talking about Wilson Contreras, home plate umpire Todd Tichenor, is among the stingier in the game. Only 11 umpires over the last 10 seasons have been more hitter friendly than the guy calling balls and strikes tonight. Might have seen that number, John Lester with an ERA of near 6 when Todd Tichenor is back there.
Well, it's cool because we get these umpire scouting reports, and the reason why Lester has lacked success with him in the past is because the one side of the plate that he just does not call consistently is that right side of the plate. So there he called the left side of the plate, maybe a little bit off. But Lester, when you think about his best pitches, it's that fastball and cutter inside. So this is an away pitch that he'll also use to set it up. But that right side of the plate, that glove side of the plate, is where Tichenor does not tend to give him called strikes. And he needs that to be able to set up everything else that he throws.
And, you know, for a guy as impressive and experienced as John Lester is, he is still subject to the emotions of human nature. And I think we've all seen him enough to know that when there's a quadrant of the strike zone that he's not getting calls in, sometimes it's hard for John to fight that. I don't want to say anger, but that frustration off.
Yeah.
Jerko to left. Hey, off the wall. And that one's gone. Above the line and off the advertising in left. Jed Jerko's third of the year has tied it at 1.
Well, for an offense that needs some pop, Jed Jerko, who's been a spot starter, I've wanted to see him in this lineup more just because of this. This is a guy who can straight up rake. He's got the power. He takes 91 at the letters, and he's looking in. He knows Lester set him up with 3 consecutive pitches away that he took. He was waiting for something on the inside part of the plate, and he got it up in the zone to drive it out.
You saw Joe Madden. He wants to make sure with the home plate umpire that ball actually cleared the fence and came off the advertising and not the actual wall. Joe's satisfied with that explanation.
And Jesse, you've been saying it all along. You want him in the lineup. Look, here's a guy who's a professional home run hitter. He had 30 home runs in 2016. He had 20 last year and is third right now. For a struggling offense, I agree, Jess, why not?
Yes. He had 30 home runs last year without being an everyday starter.
So now Paul DeYoung still looking for his first hit this month, having endured an 0 for 11 start to May. And 2 balls and no strikes from John Lester. Some of the challenges umpires face, right? You got to look at it with the naked eye and know that it came off that back wall. And the call was right, and it's a 1-1 game. It's an important home run potentially because there's more weather on the way.
Yeah.
You know, you think about all the great statistics of this guy. I mean, he is the complete package. If you want to build an organization and build your staff around him, his name is John Lester. And the one number that jumps off the page for me is 11 years with at least 31 starts. I mean, here's a guy that his DNA is a bit of a dying breed. Here's a guy who believes in being a workhorse. And if you ask him and some of the old school guys, most important statistics is to toe the rubber.
He loses to Young on ball 4.
To your point, Alex, a lot of times you hear in baseball, boy, those long-term deals for pitchers don't work out. Well, this is year 4 for John Lester with the Cubs on that 6-year, $155 million deal. It's paying off, just like Max Scherzer's deal is with the Nationals.
That's a deal that's got option language, Buster, as you know, that could keep John Lester in Chicago through the 2021 season. This year, $27.5 million of that franchise record payroll goes to John Lester.
You know, for Theo Epstein has a competitive advantage, winning 2 championships with him with the Red Sox. Understands not only how great of a pitcher he is, but what kind of makeup. How is he in the clubhouse? How is he with young pitchers? And for John Lester, the complete package.
Well, and how he's been for Contreras. I mean, everything that David Ross gave to him and the relationship that they had, Contreras comes up, young catcher.
Colton Wong fights him off for an opposite field base hit. Homer walk single with 1 away in the Cardinals half of the second. Well, as far as where he ranks among active hurlers in Major League Baseball on the wins list, just a handful with more career victories than John Lester. This is a guy that owns or co-owns more Cubs franchise pitching records than he does Red Sox franchise pitching records. That's how good he's been later in his career.
What the 161 doesn't tell you is the playoff wins, the World Series MVP, the 3 World Championships. And, you know, Jess, you mentioned David Ross and him. A lot of folks at home don't understand what that means. But think about Montana throwing to Rice. Think about Magic Johnson to Kareem. It is this brotherhood that you have that is really hard to explain, but great dividends, obviously, for both of them.
Counts 0-1 on the catcher, Francisco Pena. Pena getting the catching duties today in the absence of Yadi Molina. That's an absence that will be felt dearly over the next 6 weeks. Not only offensively, of course, but the value that Yadi Molina has in the pitching staff. And that's Carson Kelly, who was just called up from AAA Memphis to occupy that second catcher's role for Mike Matheny. Mike telling us before the game that he's never met a smarter or tougher player than Yadi Molina. How he didn't crawl off the field after this. This was a 102-mile-an-hour pitch that was misdirected at the plate. Molina buckled surgery this morning, and again he's expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks.
And nobody's going to replace Molina. But Francisco Pena, the 28-year-old Dominican from Santiago, has great pedigree. His father, Tony Pena, my former coach, played right here with the Cardinals, an all-star in 1989.
Francisco Pena was born just a few days after Tony completed his final season here in St. Louis. And as one would imagine, senior has been a great influence. On the ground to third. Bryant to Baez. Quick turn to get them both. That is Javi Baez at his best, folks. And the guy that started that inning-ending double play, Chris Bryant, visits with Alex Rodriguez when we come back. He has had a chance to visit with former MVP Chris Bryant.
you're kind of the modern day poster boy for the new way, and no one does it better than you. Tell me kind of why that launch angle works for you so well.
Well, it was something that, you know, my dad had preached to me since I was young. I mean, I think when you're younger, you're taught to hit the ball on the ground because you get more success doing that. Guys aren't as good as they are here. You're making more plays when you're in the big leagues. But everybody's all about slugging now, and you're scoring runs by hitting the ball in the gaps and over the fence. So that's something that I bought into when I was 7 years old. I got paid $20 every home run I hit.
Wow.
So they were there from my grandparents. So there were some incentives to hit the ball.
Tell me what you want your bat. If you can just show me a slow motion so the kids understand what that path looks like.
Yeah, so for me, it's all about, you know, I try not to move. I try to make my swing as simple as possible. No head movement, no leg kick, because that's just more maintenance for me.
Okay.
So when I like minimal movement, you know, a nice load, but I want to get the bat in the zone and on plane with the pitch as early as possible. So if I have more room for air.
Stop right there. So see that right there? That right there is the new change because we wanted it here. And that's the difference for you young kids. This is damage going upwards.
Yeah, and I think when you kind of have a swing that kind of comes in and out, you have a very small window to hit that ball. But if you're in the zone here and all the way through the zone, there's way more room for air to be late on it, hit it that way, be early on it, hit it that way. I take pride in being able to hit the inside pitch because everybody looks at me and they see me as a tall guy. They want to tie me up inside. So I want the ball middle in, something coming into my barrel so that if I get it out in front and I get it in the air, that's a pitch that I do damage on.
And for the folks at home, do you want that knee high or do you want that thigh high?
I like it thigh high. I mean, right there I think is a pitch that I do pretty well on. I want to step on the field every day and be as consistent as I possibly can be. And sometimes that's not the flashy numbers, they don't make headlines, but if you can come out in the field and you can be who you are every day and be the same person and your teammates know what to expect from you, then I'm doing my job.
What a terrific young man. I mean, impressive. I wish I could have been there for 3 hours. He is a delight to speak to.
This is John Lester with a rocket to center field that Bader's got to make a play on.
See Bader's face even after he caught it? Like, was that the pitcher? Lester laying into one. And he had worked this count, get back into it, but watch Lester just all in. I mean, that's as good a swing as you'll see on a pitcher. Driving it 399 feet. Bader, whew, barely getting there. Look at his face.
Hey, we didn't have that in the scouting report, Harrison saying to himself.
He was shallow.
One gone for Wilson Contreras now. That was a Bryant-like bolt to center field.
You know, Chris Bryant, the one thing is he's taken a similar trend to Mike Trout, cutting strikeouts out immensely. I mean, first year he led the entire world with 199 strikeouts. This year he's on pace for only 100.
Did you ever think you'd say only 100?
Never.
He's only going to have 100 Ks this year. I know one of the things too, you were high. We were talking about this on the car right here before your interview. Is there's so much attention that Chris Bryant will get, you know, for his hitting, his defense, all the things that he brings. But one of the things that you pointed out, and I think you even talked to him about, was his base running.
Well, absolutely. I do think he's arguably the best base runner in baseball. He cuts corners as well as anybody, and no better example than scoring on the long single by Rizzo in the World Series. It was picture perfect, textbook. And I also like one thing: when he hits a ground ball, it's a hard 90. He is flying down the first base. Whether it's spring training or the World Series, you always get the same Chris Bryant.
Still 0-2 to Wilson Contreras, who led off the ballgame with a single and scored in the first. Well, he is on quite a career trajectory. You see some of Bryant's career accomplishments there. A guy who's still in the infancy of his major league career. You can say the same thing about Schwarber up next. And Anthony Rizzo, who bats cleanup tonight.
No!
You know, this young group, if you think back to their World Series year just 2 seasons ago, they came together quicker than expected. This was supposed to be the time when it all came together and the timeline gelled. It happened much sooner than the experts could have predicted. And as a result, I think there's more pressure on this still young group to do it again and again and again.
I think so. And I think sometimes the World Championship in 16 can be misleading. You look at the age of this roster. You have 24, 25, 26, 22. And just because they're world champs doesn't mean they're completely mature yet. And Joe Maddon's, one of his big jobs that I know Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer want, is he still has to win but develop at the same time.
Was a fastball 96 down in the zone. He had elevated up until this point, changing the eye level for Contreras, and you saw there at the back end of him going to the dugout, throwing his bat. Now Buster talked on Baseball Tonight before the game about the frustrations of Contreras even in BP today.
Yeah, that's right, Jess. They came out for early batting practice today, and he was doing work for a while. And when he got done that, it was clear he was not satisfied with whatever happened. He went to the end of the Cubs dugout, sat by himself. A coach came over to talk to him. And so many staffers have said to me, boy, he really is hard on himself.
Big pass and a miss off Kyle Schwarber.
And that's one of the battles, and you talked about this with Javier Baez in the Open, Alex, is you get these players like Wilson Contreras and Baez that are so emotional and passionate, which you love. You love as a teammate, you love as a manager, because that's the reason why Contreras is one of the hardest working players in the game. But what comes with that is also the emotion and the frustration of when they don't do well.
In the box.
Well, the work continues all year long, and before the game, Wilson Contreras out there with his new hitting coach, Chili Davis. Joe Maddon told us before the game he likes the idea that Contreras works as hard as he does. He would just like to see perhaps fewer swings. He thinks that guys can swing themselves to death. But there was some early work going on with his hitting coach today.
You know, there's so much to like when it comes to talent level for Wilson Contreras. But the one thing and the biggest challenge for any young player is managing emotions. And as a catcher, you really want to be the calmest, coolest head on the field, because 12 guys, 11 to 12 pitchers are counting on your leadership.
Full count to Kyle Schwarber, the 3-2 home. Misses for ball 4. Well, some of the emotion that you talk about, Alex, and snappiness after the strikeout. If you're going to wing the bat like that, you got to clear the deck first. I mean, that pops back up. You got the manager right there. That's the wrong guy to get with the backswing.
It is dangerous. And the thing you have to think about, if you're John Lester and you see that, what's going through your mind for the next 30 pitches you're going to throw? If you're Hickey, the pitching coach, what are you thinking? And obviously, we know what Joe Maddon is thinking. You want him to neutralize those emotions, because if he does, this guy can be a perennial all-star for a long time.
Here's Chris Bryant now. He struck out in his first try tonight. Chris now just 5 for his last 32 over his last 9 games. See Pena set the inside target, the 0-1. You know, the youth theme can be echoed throughout this lineup. Bryant, Contreras, Schwarber, all players under 30. In fact, the Cubs have the highest percentage of games started by position players under 30 in the big leagues, 95%. Two-time All-Star behind 0-2. There's a check in at first.
And when you have a slugger with 2 outs, 0-2, not a bad time to maybe try to get a little sneak steal, delay steal perhaps. If he gets thrown out, you have your best hitter leading off next inning.
And there goes Schwarber. Throw down to second. He is still in time to get him.
Like that.
Ball in the dirt. Schwarber decided to roll the dice, but Francisco Pena gets him to retire the side. Middle of the third, with weather on the way, still a 1-1 ball game. Lead things off against John Lester. Harrison Bader and Dexter Fowler follow with weather on the way in St. Louis. Little renewed urgency as we pick up play in the bottom half of the third. Cubs got on the board in the first, then a 30-minute rain delay. St. Louis countered with a run on the Jed Jerko solo shot in the second. And a quick 1-ball, 2-strike count to Michael Wacha. A couple of walks from John Lester today. And I know it's early, small sample size and all, but the walks are on the rise. 2016, John averaged just over 2 walks per 9 innings. That number rose to 3 last year, and he's on an even higher pace through 6 starts in 2018. Wacha checks his swing, 2-2.
Keep an eye on Lester tonight. The one weakness that he's shown kind of consistently this season has been that arm side command, and we've seen already a couple times in this Wacha at bat.
Little topper to third. Bryant's got to hurry. To first, too late. Michael Wacha legs out an infield single.
And this was a pitch that was supposed to be inside to get it on the hands of Wacha. It ends up leaking really right over the middle of the plate. So Wacha's able to just put this in play. But how him getting down the line for a pitcher? We saw Lester lay into one last inning, drive it to center field, and Wacha hustling down first in the rain. Get himself a hit.
Yeah, even pitchers can smell that knock. And Wacha's aboard to lead things off in the third. Here's Harrison Bader now. Bader singled to open the home first, and then was thrown out trying to steal third. Making his first start since the end of April, in large part because Tommy Pham is not giving anybody else a chance. He's been that good, but Pham not starting tonight because of a groin injury that he sustained yesterday.
Pham's been so good that they moved Dexter Fowler to right field, which I'm sure was not a comfortable conversation in the offseason. Pay Fowler as much money to come over from the Cubs, be your center fielder, but Tommy Pham just making it a no-doubter.
There are some notable absences tonight for the Cardinals. Matt Carpenter not playing, manager's decision today. He's been struggling. That's not the Matt Carpenter line we're used to seeing. Molina we've talked about, and Pham came out early because of groin tightness yesterday. Those are arguably their 3 best overall players. Tommy Pham is having such a terrific start to the season, and he is a guy that might come as something of a surprise when you learn that dating back exactly a year, he's in the top 10 in the National League in batting, on base, runs scored, stolen bases, just outside the top 10 in OPS. And he's replicating that success this year, as you can see. Swing and a miss, and Bader goes down on strikes. First of the game for John Lester. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN is presented by Taco Bell, and it's brought to you by Chevy, the most awarded and fastest growing brand the last 4 years overall. And State Farm. Talk to an agent today at 800 State Farm. Well, on cue, we have another delay. John Lester gets his first out of the inning. When play resumes, there will be one away with a runner at first and a 1-1 tie on the scoreboard. Watch this exercise. It's the Busch Stadium pit crew. Yeah, this is NASCAR country to an extent.
I've never seen this, where you tie it up to the back of the carts, get it going. Usually you see the guys run out there, but they got a whole system.
Very efficient. This is a modern interpretation.
Watch how fast they're going into the wall, though. That's put on the brakes.
That's the new analytics tarp.
Look at that. They got it down to a science, though. In sync.
Very effective,
We've
too.
seen this a few times. We're given the play-by-play.
It's on the field in less than a minute.
Hey, man, I got to tell you, in today's game, I would be in trouble. I failed geometry. And everything we talk about is angles and exit velocity. I would be in deep problems.
This will be our second delay of the game. And because this grounds crew got the field covered lickety-split,
too.
it's going to be a little easier task to get it cleaned up. But yeah, weather coming down again. I don't think the hard stuff's going to come down for quite a while. And it does give us an opportunity to show
fans
you
like the Bill Murray.
what I guess to show you what you may have missed. You know, we had that conversation that Alex had with Chris Bryant earlier. But believe us when we tell you there was much more than what we were able to show you earlier today. And now that we have a delay, that we are ready to resume play here in St. Louis after a second rain delay. A total of an hour plus in delay time. And with 1 out and 1 on in the third in a 1-1 game, John Lester is back to work. Just the way things have worked out in terms of who's been on the field during the delays, this has been a little tougher for Michael Wacha, because he's had to wait out the delays and then the bottoms of the inning to get back to work. So a full 1 hour's worth of rain delays in 2 separate waves tonight. I don't think there's anything that fans in this part of the world will not endure to watch a Cubs-Cardinals game. I don't feel like too many people have left, I'll be honest. A ball and a strike to count to Dexter Fowler. A drive out to right field for Jason Hayward. And 2 away.
We talked about John Lester with runners on base and ways that he's able to creatively work base runners, knowing that he can't throw to first base. And part of it is him mixing his holds and his times to home. When he goes with the load and go, his time to the plate is 1.32 seconds. You see the knee there about halfway. Then he'll get the full lift, bringing up a little bit more, 1.5 seconds. He also has the slide step, which is 1.1 to 1.2 seconds. What this does is it doesn't allow the base runner to get a good idea of what John Lester is bringing. He mixes that up along with his holds. That's what allows him to be successful.
Here's Jose Martinez now. He takes a strike.
And just to expand a little bit on that, if you're a base runner, often you'll see him look over to the first base coach and he'll ask for time. If it's 1.3 and above, that means you can absolutely run. If it's 1.3 and below, like Jessica, like you said, 1.1, 1.2, then you absolutely stay right there.
Well, if Michael Wacha's running and he's at first base, we really have something to talk about tonight. These are the numbers that Alex talked about. Green light go, more than 1.3. Less than that number, sit tight. Very close to an Italian flag there. There's the 0-2, a lunge and a miss. And that'll do it in the third. A couple of strikeouts for John Lester, separated by about a half an hour's worth of rain delays. Still a 1-1 ball game in St. Louis.
Joe, John Lester with 56 pitches, but he's also had 2 rain delays. How does that affect how long you're going to keep him in?
I was watching his stuff. 56 pitches after 3 is not great, but he's still 91 with the fastball. I thought the cutter looked good, and that was a nice hook. So I'm just going to talk to him, pay attention to him. I think he's still capable of 6 and 100.
Wilson Contreras hitting the leadoff spot tonight. Gets a hit, scores your first run, second at bat, strikes out, comes in, throws the bat. How you feeling about that so far?
Pretty normal. It's pretty normal stuff around here. Willie's volatile sometimes, but I don't mind him doing that as long as when he gets back out on the field, he's ready to catch and play.
Joe, thanks.
Yeah, Contreras leading off for the Cubs tonight. He has singled and scored their lone run of the game. And you get the sense, talking to Joe Maddon about his catcher, that he has a very patient attitude toward the ebbs and flows of a young guy kind of learning the game. and feeling his way through the league. He's a big fan of Wilson Contreras.
Well, the importance of not changing a lot of these younger players, rather just figuring out how to get them to understand when their ups and downs are happening. And even Chris Bryant, I mean, he comes in and Rookie of the Year, MVP of the year following, and yet he's still learning as well. So much youth on this team.
Chris Bryant leading things off in the fourth with a ball into the corner into Mark McGuire land and gone. Number 4 on the year for Bryant, his second career homer against Michael Wacha, and it gives the Cubs their 1-run lead back.
And for Chris Bryant, he was talking about it about 5 hours ago on the field. That's launch angle right there. Fastball in off the plate. Gets his hands in very nicely, tight, swings up, and the ball goes a long ways for Chris Bryant.
Michael Wacha needed to see your interview. That's exactly where he said he wanted the ball. Thigh high, inside fastball. He got it 433 feet. That's where he sent it.
That's just the second extra base hit against Michael Wacha in his last 75 at-bats. And now it's Anthony Rizzo who lays off a tough pitch inside, 2 balls and no strikes.
And we talked about Schwarber taking a chance, 0-2 with 2 outs. He sure did. He got thrown out. Gives Chris Bryant new life, new count, different result. Home run.
2 balls and no strikes. The count to Rizzo, who drove in the first run of the game with a fly ball in the first.
Hey.
3-1. Popped him up. And it's Jerko to make the play for the first out as we take it back to the home run from Bryant.
Watch Bryant with his arms, his levers, what he's able to do to get that extension on a pitch that he even said to Alex pregame that guys like to come inside to him because he's tall, because he has those longer arms. A lot of times they assume he can't get to that pitch. He loves that pitch, and you see why.
433 feet away. That's up where the big boys live in this ballpark. And here's Addison Russell now.
It's cool to see his teammates' reactions. Ian Happ and Schwarber coming up like little kids looking at Big Brother just like, wow, how do you do that?
You know the team is young when you're calling your big brother a 26-year-old.
The elder statesman, right? The salty old veteran at 26. Happ next, 0-2 the count to Addison Russell. Again, you can understand a mistake here, a mistake there, given the delays that Wacha and Lester have had to pitch through tonight. 2 separate 30-minute rain delays. And a wave and a miss by Russell. In case you missed Alex's interview with Chris Bryant earlier today, he asked him specifically where he likes the ball.
I take pride in being able to hit the inside pitch because everybody looks at me and they see me as a tall guy. They want to tie me up inside. So I want the ball middle in, something coming into my barrel so that if I get it out in front and I get it in the air, that's a pitch that I do damage on.
And for the folks at home, do you want that neat? You know, it is so rare.
I mean, right there, I think, is a pitch that I do pretty well on.
Yeah. We just had to get the soundbite in there. I think I do pretty well, and he hit it 433 feet.
You know, it is so rare for a guy, a right-handed hitter that's 6'5", to hit a mid-90s fastball in off the plate for a home run and keep it fair.
2 balls and no strikes to count to Ian Happ. You know, the Cubs had a nice little offensive outburst yesterday. It didn't translate into a win. This is a team that during their 4-game losing streak had scored a total of 11 runs. On the board for 2 early tonight. 3 balls and a strike to Happ now. With 2 gone, Javi Baez waits next. And he will have an opportunity to bat with a runner aboard. T-Mobile presents Hats Off for Heroes, because no matter where you serve or where you served, we stand ready to serve all military families. Happ aboard for the 2nd time tonight via the base on balls, and another chance for Javi Baez to hit with a runner on. He grounded into a double play in the 2nd. That curveball swung on and fouled away. Michael Wacha likes to start hitters with curveballs, a newer tool in the arsenal for him.
Well, he's found that he gets more swing and misses on his fastball, and normally for a pitcher it's the secondary stuff that you finish hitters off, so he almost works backwards. He starts off with his curveball or his changeup and then looks to finish hitters with his fastball. What's interesting though to me is when you're facing a guy like Javi Baez, is he's got the highest swing rate in baseball, 60%. So this guy likes to swing, and he's it could be a fastball up in the zone, it could be a breaking ball down in the dirt.
Closer at first base this time. Martinez saying take another look. When the player asks for the replay like that, and they do more often than not, I think a coaching staff feels compelled to oblige.
He's safe.
Yeah. That's the boy who cried wolf. Man, when the players do that constantly, at some point the coaching staff's like, save it. We got it. So it's 0-1 to Baez. And a base hit to left. Little 2-out micro rally cooking in the visitors' half of the 4th, and a chance for Jason Hayward now.
Very nice swing there by Javi Baez. Changeup out over the plate, rocket between 3rd and short. Really building off his first at bat where he hit a rocket for a double play. It's a nice changeup. Michael Wacha lucky is a base hit and not a home run, as hot as Javi Baez is. Changeup, rocket. And if you're Javi Baez, and the scorecard is 1 for 2, but you're 2 for 2 with 2 rockets.
So now Hayward, who on the first pitch flying to left in the 2nd inning, and he takes a strike. There are some very healthy matchup numbers between Cubs hitters and Michael Wacha. Guys like Bryant, Rizzo, Russell, Happ have all hit him pretty well over the years. Hayward would be an exception, just 2 for 15 against the Cardinal right-hander. We went back and looked at a lot of those plate appearances, and it wasn't really anything fancy. It was Hayward's inability to catch up with Wacha's fastball. Hayward this year, however, has made a nice adjustment, and he's had more success against the fastball this year than he has in each of his 2 previous seasons in Chicago.
Problem is he's yet to get a hit on a non-fastball this season. I think because that emphasis has been to try to get his barrel there.
He got a fastball, and Wacha made him pop up on it. Fowler comes on to retire the side. Nothing further after the Bryant home run, but the 2-time All-Star strikes with his 4th of the year to put the Cubs on top 2-1. Brought to you by Napoleon Grills, coming off a career year. Last year a Gold Glove winner, a Silver Slugger Award winner, En route to setting career highs across the board. 37 big boys and 124 driven in. A 2-1 Cubs lead as Ozuna leads off with a fly ball out to center. And one gone for John Lester to start the fourth. Keeping score. That fan with a filled-in box in the second inning next to the name Jed Jerko. Third of the year, put the Cardinals on the board and tied it at 1.
I love the Congo line. The tradition they've been doing this year.
Jerko swings at the first pitch here and sends the ball to left center field. And that one's off the base of the wall. Homer double for Jed Jerko tonight so far.
Almost looked like the replay of the home run that you just showed. Come off of that same exact swing, location a little bit different. Still up in the zone with the fastball, but instead of more in on the hands where I think they wanted it, it ends up middle away. But Jed Jerko does such a good job with his lower half, and tell you what, he's swinging a hot bat right now, and he has not been consistently in this lineup. Started the season on the DL, but since he's come off and literally been a spot starter, he's got nothing but power.
In scoring position now for Paul DeYoung, who walked back in the second. Here's an important guy for the Cardinals to get going with the absences we've talked about of Molina and Pham. Carpenter getting a night off tonight. Fowler not quite hitting his stride. DeYoung into the opposite field. Laying out is Hayward to make a fine catch. And that's no fluke. That's how you win 5 Gold Gloves. A great effort by Jason Hayward to save a run for the time being.
Well, this is a double all the way off the bat. DeYoung does a nice job of going oppo, but it's Hayward. This ball is tailing towards the line, so he follows it. He understands it. He actually makes it look a lot easier than it is. Not only does he get a good jump, but able to stay with the ball, leave his feet, make the grab.
So now John Lester is a Colton Wong at bat away from stranding that runner in scoring position. Wong lines to right. Here's Hayward. We're going to have a play if they send him. Jerko throws on the brakes. Now the throw behind the play at second base where Wong is safe.
A lot going on in this play here. Terrific hitting right here by Wong. Right out of the box, he's thinking second base. Poor throw by Hayward, and taking full advantage of that mistake because he came out of the box with his hair on fire. Okendo, one of the most aggressive and best third base coach there is in the game with the Cardinals for 27 years, 17 as a coach, 10 as a player.
The Cubs will intentionally walk Francisco Pena to load the bases for Michael Wacha. So Jerko on the double, Wong on the base hit, and now Pena on the intentional walk, all aboard with 2 gone. And don't forget, Michael Wacha had a base hit back in the third. Cardinals very aggressive this inning against John Lester. Ozuna flied out on the first pitch. Jerko doubled on the first pitch. DeYoung on the second pitch lined out, and then Wong singled on the first pitch he saw.
Hey.
1-1.
You know, going back to the Tony La Russa days, one of the things he implemented here was he wanted his hitters to be an asset. And for the most part, Cardinal hitters can do a lot at the plate. They can bunt, they can hit and run, they can slash. And as we saw in the first at bat, little base hit there by Michael Wacha.
2 balls and a strike now. John Lester up to 64 pitches, but you need all the information when you process that number. Again, Lester and Waka have both had to sit for a pair of 30-minute rain delays tonight. So this is not your normal 65 pitch workload tonight. And it's 3 balls and a strike now.
Oh, and look at where Contreras is setting up versus where Lester ends up throwing. We've seen it all inning long. Contreras was set up away. His pitch ended up low and middle. And he's almost lucky he missed low, even though it's a pitcher up to the plate.
Michael Wacha's got a free swing coming his way. He takes a strike to fill the count.
And if you're John Lester right here, you're thinking middle. You have to throw a strike. Quality great, but it must be a strike.
Nowhere to put the pitcher. Bases loaded with 2 gone in a 1-run game. Last to the 4th. The 3-2 home. So far, the only Cardinal run on the Jerko homer. An opportunity here for Wacha to help himself. Here's the next 3-2. In the air to right. Problem avoided. John Lester leaves him loaded in the last of the 4th. On to inning number 5. Still 2-1 Chicago. 2-1 Cubs lead on a night that's been marked by a couple of separate rain delays, and moments ago a conversation Buster Olney had with Cardinals manager Mike Matheny.
Mike, an unusual night for Michael Wacha because of 2 rain delays. How much further can you go with him tonight?
It's actually very usual for Michael. He seems to get these kind of games quite often. He's figured out a routine, how to stay sharp. As long as it looks good, we'll stick with him as long as his pitch count's still strong.
You guys all thinking about Yadier Molina today after the surgery last night. What have you heard from him today?
Yeah, I heard from him right before the game and said he's feeling better. Obviously, we're thinking about him, praying for him. We miss him around here, but he needs to be home, needs to be resting right now. And, you know, let a couple of these other guys get in here, try to do what they need to do to keep us where we are, and we'll get him back soon.
Mike, thanks.
Well, Mike Matheny was telling us before the game that he'll be interested to watch Michael Wacha tonight, if only for the reason that he doesn't have his big toe here. And in fact, that's the case with all the Cardinal starters. So far, so good in terms of the strikeouts. With or without Yadi back there, this is how Wacha likes to live. Changeups and fastballs low in the strike zone. 3 of his 4 strikeouts have come down there. He got Addison Russell to chase. That's 4 punch outs for Wacha tonight, who has allowed 1 earned and 1 unearned run so far.
Matt, that changeup he threw 9 times for the first 3 innings, threw it 8 alone just that last inning. So expect, as you see now, 3rd time through the order after Lester here, him go to that changeup a little bit more.
Gave up a very loud out to this man. His opposite number, John Lester, leading off the 3rd. Lester leads off the 5th. And it's a ball and a strike.
And with Wacha, he's a north and south guy. Best 2 pitches are fastball, changeup. He doesn't like to spin the ball, so he'll use spin to work backwards. 0-0, 1-0, 2-1. That's what we call pitching backwards.
A ball and 2 strikes to Lester. Contreras and Schwarber follow in the 5th. You know, John Lester's well-hit ball back in the 3rd kind of got our attention because, with all due respect here, he's not going to make anybody forget about Edgar Martinez. John started his hitting career 0 for 66 before his first career base hit against then Cardinal John Lackey, who of course would go on to be a staff mate. The following April, it was that guy, John Lester, 0 for 66, that hit the hardest hit ball by a pitcher all year. That came, ironically, against another guy who would go on to be a staff mate. Tyler Chatwood, then Rocky. And the hitting resume was complete last August when John hit his first ever home run. Hey, he's got a base hit.
Wow. Wade Boggs like.
Right?
I mean, he's had 2 phenomenal at bats. There's a 3-2. Cuts his swing up a little bit. And Wade Boggs, Rod Carew would be proud of John Lester.
But I tell you what, guys, as he's had more time with the Cubs, he's gotten better and better and better swings looking hitter.
You bet.
Of course, they're not reacting like that.
John Lester's aboard to lead things off in the 5th for Contreras. Wilson has struck out and singled tonight. So if you like exit velocity, the contact John Lester has made tonight, that loud fly ball to center and the single, both at 102 miles an hour. If you're into that sort of thing. Jess.
If you're talking over 100 miles an hour by a pitcher, heck yeah, sign me up.
I know you're into
Although
that.
I can tell with your tone. If you like exit velocity.
A ball and 2 strikes on Wilson Contreras. Kyle Schwarber waiting next.
And if you're the Cardinals here, it's a perfect situation to play your first baseman behind John Lester. That way you get more range and you can potentially get the double play on a ground ball.
See Martinez off the bag. A check swing by Contreras. Did he check it?
Yes.
It's still the most subjective call in baseball. 2 balls and 2 strikes, the count to Wilson Contreras. More loud contact. Bader read it well off the bat, however, and scampers to his left to put it away. Our ESPN Plus Monday Night Baseball game has the Tigers taking on Joey Gallo and the Rangers in Arlington. It's tomorrow at 8:05 Eastern, 5:05 Pacific. All big league games on ESPN Plus are streaming live on the ESPN app, so start your free trial of ESPN Plus now. Too much Chris Sale in Arlington for the Rangers today. Look at that. Fans on opposite ends of the rooting spectrum existing in harmony.
So as far as we can tell.
I think I get a pretty good idea as to why with one of those guys too. He'd get along with anybody tonight. Schwarber checks his swing and it's a ball and a strike.
Kyle Schwarber was born to hit. He's from Ohio. He's 25 years old, but he can talk hitting all day long and a real student of the game.
A ball and a strike on Kyle Schwarber. And he remains a guy that baseball people are just fascinated with because of the raw potential he has as an offensive player. Check the count on Kyle. A ball and 2 strikes. Still admittedly a guy without a true position defensively, but it just doesn't seem to matter because of that vast offensive potential.
I mean, you'll never forget what he did in the 2016 World Series, and it wasn't just some sort of phenomenal outlier. The fact that he came in not playing all season long, facing the likes of that entire Indian staff, and had that success shows his potential.
Waka made him chase here for out number 2, and now it's the man responsible for tonight's Corona premier moment. Chris Bryant leading things off in the top of the 4th. A 440-foot shot into the night.
And what makes it even more impressive, strikes out on his first at bat and an 0-2 changeup, and is still ready for 96 in off the plate.
Waka starts him away, a ball and no strikes.
So if you're a hitter here, you almost want to eliminate in. Dare Michael Waka to come back in there and really focus out over the plate, maybe shoot him to right center.
How do you do that?
Well, I think you do that. You take the 17-inch plate, you forget about the inner half, and you focus on the outer half. And if you're him, you're thinking bullpen, right center field, right where the Cardinals pitchers are.
Well, that would play right to Bryant's strength as a hitter. And Waka wants to make sure Lester knows he hasn't forgotten about him at first base.
It's a great luxury when you can take his best pitch and eliminate it and really focus on fastballs away and soft.
2-1. "83 pitches into the game, 2 rain delays, and the Cardinal bullpen is at least up and moving around. Nobody throwing down there yet. There were 11 pitching changes in the extra innings game yesterday. Breaking ball had Chris Buckle, and it's 2-2.
That's the best curveball we've seen from Michael Waka tonight, and you can tell just by the reaction of Bryant. You're going to see him kind of jump like it's going to hit him, but it comes right back over the plate for a strike. They try to go back in there with the velocity way in off the plate. 96 for the home run at 94. Left the bat at 109. The launch angle 33 degrees, and Chris Bryant, that is what he is known for, 25 plus, and a lot of those swings is why he crushes at 433 feet. But to Alex's point, that's a pitch that usually you pull foul, but you see him keep his hands inside of that beautifully, which is why it left the park.
On a couple of hops for DeYoung, who'll go the short way to force out Lester. Nothing comes of that leadoff single. To the bottom of the 5th, still 2-1 Chicago.
It's a promo read?
Just like that, huh? You don't
Were
need,
you nervous?
You don't need
You're
me
sweaty
anymore.
palms, right?
I can breathe now.
Hardest thing you'll do all night.
Did you ever imagine from 700 career home runs to reading the Scotch pitch hit and run promo coming back from break? What happened?
This is actually a high point.
2-1 Chicago, the score as we head to the bottom half of the 5th inning, and John Lester back to work for Chicago. Back to the top of the order, Bader, Fowler, and Martinez for the Cardinals. Harrison Bader has singled and struck out tonight. Well, John Lester has pitched out of a couple of jams this evening, including one to start the ball game when he had runners at first and second in the bottom of the 1st without recording an out. Stranded a runner in the 2nd, left the bases loaded in the 4th.
And I'm sure Jose Oquendo had a very candid conversation with the young Bader, because one of the most savvy third base coaches around, that's a mistake you don't ever want to see again.
Talking about Bader getting thrown out trying to steal third in the 1st. Made the first out of the inning there, and it ended up costing the Cardinals an opportunity to score. Again, Bader getting the start in center field tonight because Tommy Pham was not available to start. Mike Matheny telling us that Pham may be available to pinch hit tonight. 2-2 now. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes.
And Lester upset with himself, leaving a changeup 84 miles an hour out over the plate. He doesn't want that pitch up. He wants it down and away.
See Lester and Contreras taking a moment to get on the same page here. Now they've got what they like, and the next 2-2 rings them up.
And that's a classic backdoor cutter that's made John Lester so tough. And as a hitter, that looks like a ball for 59 feet. And then as a strike, and it's too late.
3 strikeouts now for Lester tonight. Back to Dexter Fowler, who has walked and flied to right. And Fowler started with a pitch on the hands for a strike. You know, it's very rare that a starting pitcher is at the same time a workhorse and an ace. John Lester is that combination. Fowler into right center field. A fine running catch by Ian Happ, who got a great read off the bat for out number 2. Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN, presented by Taco Bell, is brought to you by New Scott's Thicker Lawn, a revolutionary 3-in-1 solution for weak, thin lawns, and by Nissan, innovation that excites, and Flonase Allergy Relief. You are greater than your allergies.
Matt, to your point, it is rare to have your ace be your workhorse. And for John Lester,
ground ball up the middle for Russell. More on Lester as we continue, as he dispatches the Cardinals quickly in the 5th. Still 2-1 Chicago. Yeah, we asked Mike Matheny about that before the game, and he looked at the group of us as though we had just asked him what time it was. Like, duh. First ballot like that. No chance. He's not a first ballot in the minds of the folks here, that's for sure. What do you guys think?
I mean, if it's me voting, he's a first ballot. The reality is I think he is a Hall of Famer, but I think he's an eventual Hall of Famer. I don't think he's a first ballot because they look at numbers. They look at things like offensive production. And to me, the stuff that Yadier Molina brings to the Cardinals and his entire career is the stuff that you cannot quantify. It's what he does to a pitching staff. It's where he puts himself first, how he frames pitches, throws runners out, but just the confidence that he brings within that team.
it's rare that a player can dominate a game defensively, and that's exactly what Molina does night in and night out. And part of the story is only the game calling.
Anthony Rizzo pops it up. Pena for Molina today, not able to go into the stands for that one. Well, Yadi Molina among catchers to win Gold Gloves trails only Johnny Bench, who he passed on the all-time games caught list on Friday, and Ivan Pudge Rodriguez. Only a couple of Hall of Famers have won more than Yadi.
You know, it's all the intangibles. It's the game calling. It's the leadership.
That's beaten on the ground is second for Colton Wong and one away.
You know, it's the vision. You know, people often ask, why are former catchers managers? It's simple. You have the whole game in front of you. Why aren't pitchers usually managers? The whole game is behind you. So nobody has better vision than Molina. And there is no question in my mind, talking to Carlos Beltran, who was both of our former teammates, there's no one tougher, there's no one stronger, and someone that brings more value to an organization than a guy like Molina.
Here's Addison Russell now with one away.
Hey guys, I talked to Benji Molina, his brother, yesterday, and I told him, look, if I was voting, I would vote for him on the first ballot, but I suspect that a lot of voters will probably look at the numbers when his time comes up on the ballot and will forget a lot of the great stuff he does. I think that's what's happened with Omar Vizquel. You talk to Omar Vizquel's peers, they say, "Are you kidding?" Of course. That might happen with Molina because of the numbers that he's going to compile.
Yeah, Buster, that's great comp, and it's unfortunate that, you know, a lot of that voting for some of the voters, not all of them, but for a lot of voters, it's strictly numbers, and you're looking at certain plateaus based on who else is in the building. Some of the anecdotal stuff, it doesn't enter into the minds of the voters as much as I think many of us wish it would. 2 balls and 2 strikes, the count to Addison Russell.
You know, analytics can't really quantify how valuable Molina is, and Matheny actually told us exactly that. Another great guy that dominated defensively in Cardinal history.
It's a ball into the gap in right center. Russell headed for second.
Another great defender in the history of the Cardinals, obviously, is Ozzie Smith, who absolutely dominated the game from shortstop position. Molina does the same thing, but from catching.
Watch Bader get to this ball in the gap. It looked like it was going to make it all the way. He cuts it off in between his legs, but is able to get a good throw. Look at where he catches this thing. Nice athleticism, good little move. It's not easy to do, a little no look in between the legs.
He's lucky he didn't punt that all the way into the right field corner.
And he's on wet grass out there too.
So we'll have a visit on the mound now, and this was something Mike Matheny was talking about earlier. Without Yadi Molina, all of a sudden this kind of thing, the visit might be a little bit more necessary. Forget about burning one of your 6. Luke Gregerson is getting hot in the bullpen. It looks like they're going to make a change. That'll be all for Michael Wacha after the 1-out double, the first pitching change of the night, and we'll be right back. And select from it a guy who, in stark contrast to Michael Wacha, is one of the best at spinning the baseball, and that's the slider specialist Luke Gregerson.
He's got the fastball, the 4-seam, and the 2-seam, and like you mentioned, he'll throw a changeup, but the slider is his best pitch. The former closer from the Padres, most recently the Astros.
He gets Ian Happ, who had walked twice against Wacha tonight with a runner aboard and 1 gone. Gregerson last worked in this series on Friday and earned the hold. Faced 2 batters, struck 1 of them out. He's trying to strand Addison Russell after that double with 1 away. Dangerous hitter due up next in Javi Baez. Big swing and a miss, 1-2.
You know, I was talking to Brian Butterfield, the great third base coach for the Chicago Cubs this afternoon. He said 2 things about Addison Russell that were fascinating. Number one, as good as athlete as he's ever seen in the major league level in his 25 years. He can actually do 2 flips in the air before coming down.
What?
Very, very athletic, like a gymnast.
You need to see that on camera.
And the second part, he said he's, and I quote, he's one of the greatest dancers in the world.
By Brian Butterfield.
We may see him in World of Dance.
I was going to say, I think J-Lo is a better judge than Brian on who's the best dancer.
I mean, talk about 2 nuggets. 2 flips? I have to see that.
Wait a minute, who's in World of Dance? Brian Butterfield or Addison Russell? I've lost the conversation.
World of Dance is J-Lo show.
Okay. 2 balls and 2 strikes as he counts Ian Happ. A swing and a miss. Well, we don't have any video of the double flip, but we do have video of a header between innings.
Are these dance moves?
I guess these can be considered.
Trying to get it.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Look at his face.
You know, it is dangerous here in Busch Stadium. The sad thing is, and I'm not proud to say, that's the 4th time I've hit my head over there. Obstacle course here.
Oh, it's like a bull in a china shop trying to get back in there.
2 gone now for Javi Baez. Watch how many sliders Luke Gregerson throws him. There's 1. If there's anything straight, I'll eat my hat. There's a guy that did the flip with the best of them. Go crazy, folks. The Wizard is still a deity around these parts.
Jack Buck, one of the great legends of our game.
So's Jack, you bet. Ball and no strikes, the count to Baez.
Was that kind of straight?
That was.
I'm
hoping that was.
I think that was straight.
It was not. Man,
that was a fastball, Matt.
It was a fastball.
Someone give him a hat.
There was a little
Gotta
tilt. There was a little tilt
Said
on it, though. Can you give me that?
Well, we need a trail.
Oh, there's tilt. I'm not eating anything. A ball and a strike to count to Baez. Oh, there's a good one. That's Luke Gregerson at his best.
With that swing, he can throw him 10 sliders in a row and you'll get the same result. Javi Baez, a young hitter. This is where you really want to focus to right center. Don't take your A swing. Take your B or C hack. Base hit will be delight.
Ball and 2 strikes to Baez. A runner in scoring position with 2 gone. And a chopper back to Gregerson to get out of the jam. Chicago continues to nurse that 1-run lead. Marcell Ozuna will try to cut into it when we go to the bottom of the 6th. Marcell Ozuna leads things off in the home half of inning number 6. Still a 1-run ball game here in St. Louis. John Lester back to work. Ozuna, Jerko, and DeYoung. And Ozuna obliges with a first pitch swing and a ball out of play. A ground ball and a fly out today for Ozuna so far. John Lester having allowed the 1 run on 6 hits. And the trouble spot in the lineup for Lester is the guy due up next, Jed Jerko, who has doubled and homered tonight.
You got to give it to John Lester. One of the things that he has struggled with his last 3 starts is that lack of arm side command, that left side of the plate.
Swing and a miss, and Lester puts away Ozuna on a total of 3 pitches.
That's been the money pitch, is the changeup, and how he's been able to adapt not having the fastball command. And you see throughout early in this game that fastball, look at where Contreras is set up and look at where the pitches have ended up, and this is where he's gotten beat early on. Base hits to Cardinals hitters is that arm side misses, but the changeup has been dirty. And Alex, you talked about this being a pitch that you don't think about with John Lester, but him being able to adapt tonight. He's had 10 changeups, 5 of them outs, 3 of them strikeouts, 2 of them groundouts.
It is so difficult for a pitcher to go from not having a changeup early in his career to making it one of his out pitches later in his career.
A ball and a strike to count to Jed Jerko.
And it's such a huge pitch because when you think of John Lester, you're thinking inside as a righty, because he's got his cutter and that 4-seam fastball that he will locate glove side, the right side of the plate. So to have the changeup on the left side and the curveball there to be able to offset a lot of these bats that are trying to get going to get their barrel there to the inside pitch.
Yeah, this is interesting too. It's nothing but soft stuff so far to Jerko, who's had that success against him tonight. By the way, the homer for Jerko back at the second, his 100th career home run. And I wonder if there's an enterprising young fan out there that got that baseball that might have the goodness in him to return the ball to Jed. I'm sure he'd like to have that one for the home collection.
right now, I don't know how Mike Matheny keeps him out of the lineup. We talked about in the open the bats that have been struggling for the Cardinals. Jerko, since coming off the DL, has been red hot. Will he sustain it throughout the season? You know, probably, obviously not what he's been able to do, but tonight, gosh, the last 2 weeks, he's been one of the hottest bats and yet hasn't been in the lineup.
Full count pitch is high for ball 4. You know, the defense behind John Lester so far this year has been unusually shoddy. 6 errors behind him, the most behind any starter. Let's go back and look at what's happened tonight.
This is so good here by Javi Baez. He makes everything look good. The one thing, other second baseman I've seen it do it just as good. Roberto Alomar, obviously the gold standard. Robinson Cano. But not only is he quick, but then the bazooka, quarterback-like, over-the-hand, shortstop arm as a second baseman.
Through Anthony Rizzo, a slider there that he stayed with. We're going to have a pitching change, as that's going to be all for John Lester. 5 1/3 into the night. Lester leaves on the right side of the decision. It'll be Steve Cishek out of the Cubs bullpen to face Paul DeJong when we come back. John Lester yields in the 6th to the veteran right-hander, former Marlins closer Steve Cishek, who get Paul DeJong and trying to strand a 1-out base runner.
And one of the solid guys all year for Joe Madden, a guy that he can count on to even get 4 and 5 outs, 3 pitches, sinker, slider, changeup. And one thing to watch with 2 strikes, even though he's a submariner, he actually raises the fastball, almost like a rising fastball, Jessica, up in the zone, 4-seamer.
A little similar to Sean Doolittle with the Nationals.
Ball and 2 strikes to Paul DeJong.
And if you're a right-handed hitter, that's not a fun look.
He hides it.
On the appeal, no swing, and it's 2-2 to Paul DeJong.
How do you approach a guy like Cishek?
Well, I mean, for one, he's coming, the way he's throwing the ball, it appears that it's coming right out of Addison Russell's right ear. and you have to stay inside. You have to keep your shoulder and think right center field.
And DeJong shoots it just foul. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes to Paul DeJong. Rising fastball, huh? Echoes of Dice K, and there's a foul tip that Contreras takes. Let's see where this clipped him. Right on the pad. Still hurts, by the way. And a wave and a miss. Two gone here in the 6th.
And a great pitch here, slider, 2-2 count, and just a wipeout. Such an important tool for Joe Madden. What a weapon to be able to neutralize righties.
So now Colton Wong, who's got a couple of singles tonight.
And there's the elevated fastball there, 91 miles an hour. As a hitter, you're thinking east and west and down, and then he changes elevation, makes it very challenging.
And Wong in a quick 0-2 hole. Wong had the game winner yesterday. And starting to come around, perhaps. A big homer yesterday, 2 for 2 so far tonight. Jerko still the board after the 1-out walk. With 2 gone, here's the 0-2 home to Wong. Well, Colton Wong, of course, with his attention elsewhere, some of the problems going on back home in Hawaii. But man, this has been the guy that's had a lot of fun. He gets the bucket and he misses a lot, right? Man. So when they had a chance to get him yesterday after the walk-off, they missed him on purpose and then finished the job. A ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, talked to him about it today, Matt, and he said he will continue to man the bucket despite his struggles with it.
0 for 2.
The next 1-2. We mentioned that, Buster, the fact that he's got his eyes on what's happening back home in Hawaii as well.
Yeah, that's right. He grew up in Hilo, which is 20 miles from where they're having the eruptions, the volcanic eruptions, and the earthquakes. And he said he's been texting and exchanging messages with friends back there, firemen sending him video. He's concerned about all of that. Told me he was going to start a GoFundMe, a FundMe page to help out folks back in the Big Island.
Exercising a keen eye to lay off that 2-2 pitch, and he's worked it full. Jerko's running with 2 gone, and Wong sends it to right field. There's Hayward, and this one gets away from him. Jerko's going to score all the way from first. Wong to third, and this one's tied. It looked like Hayward had a beat on that ball and that he may have lost it in the lights.
Well, it looked like he had a beat until he decided to go to the slide to kind of get on the same plane with the ball to make the catch. And this is when he loses it. He goes down to his slide and completely loses track of the ball. He could have stayed on his feet and still made the grab. But as soon as he lowered his head and eyes, he lost that ball. Big error for the Cubs.
And now Francisco Pena is hit by the first pitch he sees.
They're going to give that last hit a triple to Colton Wong. No error.
This is what Jason Hayward's looking at. When he went into that slide, he's looking right into that bank of lights. When the glove went up, it was because he either was trying to fight off the glare or that was just a reaction to the slide, and that's what ended up costing him the catch.
It was literally right as he went into the slide. So him lowering his eyesight either lost it or just literally because you're moving your eyes, misjudged it.
A very rare miscue by a 5-time Gold Glover who's already made a couple of great catches today, and that's going to prompt a change on the mound. That's John Lester's run and decision. He's off the hook for the win now, or out of the win column, better said. And we'll have another pitching change. Justin Wilson enters from the Cubs bullpen. We'll be right back. Interesting turn of events here in St. Louis, and now tie score, runners at the corners, and pinch hitter Tommy Pham announced. Pham not able to start today because of a groin injury he suffered yesterday. He has been the Cardinals' biggest offensive threat all year, wastes no time against the new pitcher Justin Wilson, and grounds into an inning-ending play on the left side of the infield. Pham not really moving around great, gives the Cardinals his one at bat. 1 to tie. We're all knotted up at 2 through 6. Their lone left-hander Tyler Lyons to take over here in the 7th.
Hey!
Lyons now working in consecutive days for the 6th time this season. He was hardly taxed yesterday. Retired one batter and earned the victory. Cue up the vulture noise. A ball and a strike to Jason Hayward, leading things off. Hayward, then the Cubs pitcher spot, then Contreras at the top of the order. It'll be Albert Almora to pinch hit next. A couple of fly balls from Hayward tonight. A swing and a miss. Man, that pass he takes is not something that anybody could teach.
And guys, I actually had a pitcher tell me that he thinks the problem for Jason Hayward has always been with the top hand in his swing, his left hand, that he curls his left wrist inward at the start of every swing and locks himself up.
Hayward with a drive out to right center field. That ball's well hit. Bader circling under it, shy of the wall to put it away. Well, 3 fly ball outs off his bat tonight. Let's go back to the out that he recorded in the 4th. And you can see that wrist move that Buster talks about. You know, it looks uncomfortable, Alex. It's the way Jason has hit for years. Even though last year he spent considerable time trying to rework those swing mechanics. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, Chris Bryant talked earlier about eliminating any unnecessary movement, keeping things very simple. Jason Hayward does the opposite. Before the swing comes, he actually turns his hand in right there, and it makes it very challenging to go from there to what is the optimal hitting position that Chris Bryant talked about, to getting right there. So it's a wasted move.
It's obvious. It's something he's done for a long time. And I know every hitting coach that's been here in Chicago and those he worked with here in St. Louis and Atlanta have probably looked at that and said, that's not comfortable looking. But if that's what the player's comfortable doing, it becomes almost a massage that the coach has to do with the pupil.
Yeah, I think the rule of thumb is, look, when I came up, there was a lot more of a monologue, and it was the coaches talking to the players. Today in this generation, there's more of a dialogue. There's back and forth. If you're a guy like Chris Bryant or Anthony Rizzo who has tremendous equity, you have more leeway. If your style has not worked out well, then it's up to Chili Davis to say, now you have to try what I have.
Well, nobody's ever questioned the work ethic of Jason Hayward. In fact, it's just the opposite. He is known as one of the harder workers in all of baseball. For whatever reason, the offensive results just haven't been there yet. Here's Wilson Contreras after Albert Almora grounded out. Contreras has singled and scored tonight. A ball and a strike from Tyler Lyons.
You know, you think about Chili Davis and the challenge that he has. One of the all-time best switch hitters who can hit in situations, control the strike zone, and can hit in the clutch. Woo! His challenge to speak to this generation of players, having to explain to him that with a man on third and infield back, a 14 chopper ground ball to second base, it's okay. Forget about launch angle. Play the game. Be a baseball player, because that's what you need to win in October.
Tyler Lyons making very quick work of the Cubs in the 7th. They're up and stretching on a rainy night in St. Louis in a 2-2 ball game. Hey, someone step on a duck with a duck blur of activities all throughout the week. DuckTales Scrooge McDuck and Launchpad McQuack are here tonight. They threw out the first pitch and interacted with fans to kick off Duck Week. It's all a part of DuckTales every day in May, only on Disney Channel. Scrooge McDuck. Don't be afraid to reach into your rat hole one time and pay for something. The quack of the bat. Some duck-themed baseball nuggets. Joe Ducky Medwick, of course, a great Cardinal and a Triple Crown winner. The minor league Ducks, there's a couple of teams that go by that moniker. Of course, the Oregon Ducks, Ryan Healy and company played there. And then there's the baseball parlance of ducks on the pond. Runners on base, of which there are none to lead things off here in the bottom of the 7th. Of course, for the top of the order, Harrison, Bader, Dexter, Fowler, and Jose Martinez. And a new pitcher on the mound for Chicago taking over here in the 7th. The 4th Cub arm to be used in this one is the right-hander Carl Edwards Jr.
Is he fun to watch? He's got that fastball curveball combination, an occasional change, but he's got one of the best four-seamers that you'll see ride it up in the zone, 96, 97 miles an hour, and then throw that curveball right out of the same window. He's been one of the best and most consistent players out of the bullpen for the Cubs for the last 3 years.
He is that rare pitcher to wear a single-digit number on his jersey. In fact, the Cubs have only had 5 of them in their very long franchise history.
You know, he's got an electric fastball, mid-90s, but he's along with 2 other guys, Kenley Jansen and Mariano Rivera, that throws a natural cutter.
2-2 to Bader.
And when you ask him about his cutter, he has no idea. He throws it like a four-seamer, just like Mariano Rivera, and it cuts. Where he gets into trouble is when he can't control it and it sails up and away from righties.
And a called strike 3 taken by Bader.
Well, this was a miss. You see where Contreras was set up away. A great look from low home there. Kind of give you the batter's point of view, but watch where it ends up. Look where Contreras is. Look how much of a miss this is. Contreras couldn't even frame it, but it's a strike.
Those are tough ones to call for umpires too, because you're fooled if the catcher's fooled very oftentimes.
Well, he's got to reach all the way across his body.
Credit Todd Tishner for a good idea of the zone there for sure. Here's Dexter Fowler now. He has walked and flied out twice tonight. In from the left side for the first time this evening, where he has had a little bit more success this year. John Lester started this one. He went 5 1/3. Neither starter will be in the decision tonight. Steve Cishek, Justin Wilson, and now Carl Edwards for Chicago.
And he's another guy that's a reverse split guy. Makes it even more challenging versus left-handed hitters because of that cutter. It just chases you.
Two balls and a strike.
And by chase, you mean it gets in on those lefties.
Yeah, it carves you up. That ball coming at you at 95, it chases you as a hitter. You try to speed up, and it opens up the outer half of the plate for Carl.
Woo! 2-2 now. Jose Martinez waiting on deck for St. Louis. He has been one of their more consistent bats this year. And Mike Matheny would love to get him up there with a runner aboard. That's right where Contreras wanted it. They missed low, and it's a full count now, 3-2. One out, bases empty, last of the 7th, and a 2-2 tie. A swing and a miss. Back-to-back strikeouts for Carl Edwards in the 7th.
And that is a devastating cutter there. Unhittable pitch. Natural cut. As a hitter, you don't see any rotation on this. You think it's a four-seamer, and it takes a left turn. Mariano Rivera did it for almost 20 years. And now Edwards Jr. Boy, is that a great weapon.
So 2 gone, bases emptied out for Jose Martinez. Martinez is grounded into a double play. Bounced to shortstop and struck out tonight. Top of the Cardinals lineup has been neutralized this evening. 1 through 4 hitters are just 1 for 14 with 6 strikeouts. And again, this is a different version of the top of the Cardinals lineup. No Pham, no Molina, no Carpenter. 2-0 now.
He's kind of disappointed. Tommy Pham coming in, runners in scoring position. Off the bench, you kind of wanted him to maybe take a pitch, let us build him up a little bit. He swung before we even got him in the batter's box, which is surprising. Usually you come in off the bench in a pinch hit situation, you're going to take one. Just got to make sure you're seeing things good. Grounds out first pitch. Pinch hit wasted.
You know, Tommy Pham and the man at the plate, Jose Martinez, have this in common. They have both absolutely earned their keep at the big league level. We've talked about Pham overcoming a degenerative eye disease, shoulder surgeries. Same is true of Jose Martinez, who endured 3 separate knee surgeries over a 2.5-year span, and after 900 minor league games with 11 different minor league teams, finally got to the Grande Ligas at the end of the 2016 season. And here he is starting and hitting a bolt out to right center field, sending Happ to the wall before he can retire the side. A 1-2-3-7 from Carl Edwards on to the 8th tonight in a still 2-2 ball game. To the top of the 8th inning, and Kyle Schwarber leads things off against Tyler Lyons, ready to begin a second inning of relief work tonight. Back with Alex Rodriguez, Jessica Mendoza, Buster Olney, Matt Vasgersian. A 2-2 ball game here this evening on a night that has seen 2 separate half-hour rain delays, a couple of solo home runs, and many a jam avoided on the mound. Schwarber takes a strike. It's 1-1. Lions got through the Cubs in order in the 7th, retiring Hayward, Almora, and Contreras efficiently. So far so good by both bullpens in this one tonight.
You know, rare for a team to have 2 starting players in the lineup tonight that their dads played in the major leagues. Obviously Francisco Peña's dad was Tony Peña, and Jose Martinez, his father Carlos Martinez, whose nickname was Café.
So the younger Martinez appropriately is nicknamed Cafecito.
Cafecito.
Nice Spanish.
Schwarber out in front, a swing and a miss. It's a full count now. Yeah, Carlos Martinez had a nice career, 7-year career. That is the father of Jose, and it was a career best known perhaps for, he was the guy that hit the ball that bounced off Jose Canseco's head for a home run in 1993. Yeah, but he did more than that, but that's probably the thing we remember the late Carlos for the most. Carlos lost a battle with cancer as a young man at the age of 40. Here's the 3-2 home. You could see Schwarber look opposite field there. I mean, noting the huge gap with the Cardinals playing him in the shift. He just couldn't land it fair.
He was late on an off speed, which tells you that he was sitting to let that ball travel as far as he possibly could, looking opposite field.
Lyons tries it again. The next 3-2 misses low, ball 4, and the go-ahead runs aboard to start the top of the 8th inning.
And that should be a change. Right-hander coming in to face Bryant.
So the Cardinals will turn to their 3rd bullpen arm. And it's a very hard throwing one at that when we come back in a 2-2 ball game. And Chris Bryant has already made his impact on this game.
First inning changeup 0-2, 89 miles an hour. Bryant goes fishing. Second at bat makes a nice adjustment on a 94-mile-an-hour fastball in off the plate. Impressive, towering home run for Bryant. And now he's got even more heat with Jordan Hicks. Mano a mano.
Yeah, big time power matchup here. Jordan Hicks, the hard throwing right-hander, has recorded 5 of the 10 fastest pitches thrown in baseball this year. And in addition to bringing big time gas, he is tied for the National League among relievers by inducing 4 double play balls early this year. So here's Bryant with the go-ahead run aboard in the 8th. Look out. That one bounces away from Pena, and Schwarber will advance into scoring position.
Pena was set up away for this 99-mile-an-hour fastball, and it rides up and in, which is scary for Chris Bryant, who got hit in the face just a week ago. See how, whew.
Yeah, Bryant missed 4 games after being hit high by German Marquez against the Rockies back on April 22nd. I mean, this could have been a lot worse. Got him in the helmet. It is hard to watch. And the fact that Chris came back after 4 games is a credit to batting helmet technology. A ground ball to short. To first, and how big is that pass ball now? Boy, that's your double play ball if Schwarber's still at first.
Jordan Hicks showing tremendous composure on a 2-0 pitch. Obviously very excited, adrenaline up, throws a nice fastball that has nice run in it, really eats up Chris Bryant. He didn't mean to come in. It came in. It worked very good for Hicks.
So now Anthony Rizzo, who started with a strike.
101 miles an hour. And remember, Hicks, the last few appearances he's had, he's bounced that slider. So he stayed away from it so far tonight. But that's something that even with Schwarber, not a lot of speed at second base, he's got to be careful with.
A 99-mile-an-hour average fastball from Jordan Hicks. And for folks that haven't paid attention to the Cardinals these days, that might be something of a surprise that it's not the usual suspects on that list, Aroldis Chapman and company. It's this young bull. Rizzo bounces it to second base. And that's out number 2. So Schwarber to third is the go-ahead run. And Addison Russell will dig in. Russell has had some success this year with velocity. What's considered an above average fastball is anything 94 miles an hour or hotter. And on that particular pitch, Addison Russell's a 375 hitter this year. He's actually better on the above average fastball than the below average heater. 1-1.
They should really create another category for 100+ though once you get into the Jordan Hickses of the world.
Really good point. Welterweight, heavyweight, and super heavyweight, in other words. 2-1.
Or guys, this could just be baseball in 2018. If you look at the explosion of hard throwing relievers in baseball, these are the total number of pitches, 98+ miles per hour. 2014, 7,080, and we are on a pace for more than 20,000 this year. So it's basically tripled in 4 years.
It also explains the strikeout epidemic in large part. and the Tommy John epidemic.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's twofold. You get guys now that are being told come out of the bullpen and throw the ball as hard as you can because the length isn't there as much. You know, you don't have starting pitchers that need to throw 7-8 innings. It's 5 and you're good.
And it feeds Alex's favorite thing, the launch angle revolution, because teams think more and more you can't string together 3 hits.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Do we expect anything other than a heater here, Alex? Are you playing the guessing game with a guy that's got 99 in his pocket as easily as Hicks does?
I mean, this is where you want to strike out. You have 2 pitches to strike him out. And look, I go with my best pitch. You have 1 of each. You maybe go fastball and then 3-2, maybe wipe out slider.
Fastball bounced back up the middle. Playable for DeYoung to retire the side. Nothing comes to the leadoff walk. St. Louis bullpen continues to hold, and it's still a 2-2 ball game. This week's SC featured, and coming up at 11 o'clock following the game, Kenny Mayne and John Anderson have reaction from James Harden and Donovan Mitchell as the Jazz look to tie series at 2. Plus Barry Melrose analysis of Game 6. Golden Knights are going to the conference finals as they defeat the Sharks. Sports Center at 11 Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. Carl Edwards back to work in a still 2-2 storyline last of the 8th. Marcell Ozuna, Jed Jerko, and Paul DeYoung for St. Louis. Two balls and a strike with both bullpens active at this late stage of the night. Left-hander Brian Dunsing, one of the 3 southpaws Joe Madden has at his disposal down there. He's already used Justin Wilson. And Greg Holland up for St. Louis. To 3-1 on Ozuna now. Cardinals have not been able to get their leadoff hitter aboard since the 3rd inning tonight. Full count. Fred Bird among those waiting for the bats like Marcell Ozuna to heat up. Full count pitch. He laid off the breaking ball. And the leadoff hitter is aboard to start the 8th. That'll bring up the guy who is the biggest problem spot for John Lester tonight.
Back in the 2nd, he took a fastball up in the zone. Out of the park. He had a double. His next at bat walked. His 3rd at bat. He's been seeing the ball big as the Congo line. Sure, they'd love to get into that in the bottom of the 8th.
Let me tell you a little story about a man named Jed. Already in the midst of a pretty good night. Homer double base on balls. He has scored both of the Cardinals' runs tonight.
You have to question the 3-2 curveball there to Ozuna. You love to see Edwards having a guy leading off an inning, not seeing the ball well, go right after him with that great fastball.
Jerko to right. And out number 1. Got a lot of pop tonight. So does the next batter. Although Paul DeYoung is hitless tonight, 0 for 2, he does have 7 big boys on his line this year. Still looking for his first hit this month. .25 home runs in his rookie campaign last year. An OPS of .850 in only 108 games last season. And takes a strike. About a year-ish ago, Paul DeYoung made his major league debut. at the end of May in 2017 and homered on his very first big league swing. He kind of changed the pecking order at shortstop here and established himself as the guy. Signed a multi-year extension that could keep him here through the 2025 season. He's not had a lot of success against Carl Edwards in a very small sample size. And as Mike Matheny shared with us before the game today, a cerebral fellow, possibly one of the more intelligent players in the league, and one who was taken in the offseason to doing experiments on the actual baseball itself.
Yeah.
How would you like to be a major league shortstop and have a degree in biochemistry from Illinois State?
It means you could probably do whatever you wanted to in life, right?
But the project he worked on in the offseason, so cool. I mean, basically was curious about the maximum, like the best time to be able to hit a baseball, because everyone says the warmer the weather, the better you hit it. And so he actually went to Long Island University and tested the temperature of a baseball and how far it would bounce after dropping it. And it 68 to 75 degrees, if I'm not, no, 68 to 75 degrees was the optimal temperature. And actually, once you got 75 and higher, it would actually decrease the amount of bounce you would get on a baseball.
I mean, that is some awesome stuff. I'm more confused than ever. I mean, there goes the theory of keep it simple.
Well, Joe Madden is going to complicate things, and he hopes to his advantage with the double switch that'll bring Brian Dunsing into the game to pitch to Colton Wong. He wants a left-hander here with runners at first and second and one gone. A couple of walks from Carl Edwards. And Edwards didn't want to go anywhere until Joe came to get him.
That looks like my 4-year-old. He's in trouble.
Come on, Mom. Let me stay up and watch one more cartoon.
I didn't mean to walk him. Give me another chance.
Pitching change. We'll be right back. Second consecutive night, a 2-2 ball game. Wong will bat with 2 runners aboard and 1 gone. He struck the game-winning blow yesterday in the last of the 10th. 2-run walk-off home run to beat the Cubs 8-6 and make it 4 straight wins for St. Louis. It'll be Brian Dunsing to try to get him here with 1 gone, and he starts it with a strike. Dunsing making his 16th appearance of the year, yet to allow an earned run this season. And Wong sprays a fly ball into shallow right for Jason Hayward, and out number 2. Different look up the middle. You just saw Ben Zobrist in your picture there. He takes over at second base, and that moves Javi Baez to shortstop. Addison Russell rotates out in the change.
And Dunsing with starter arsenal. He's got all 4 pitches: fastball, slider, curveball, and a change. And another guy Joe Madden depends on, a guy that can actually go multiple innings.
On a bullpen with 3 lefties, he's been their best one.
Here's Francisco Pena. He has been hit by a pitch. He's been intentionally walked and grounded into a double play. Well, Mike Matheny's kind of running low on bench options. He does have a big one left in Matt Carpenter. Greg Garcia was burned as he was announced as a pinch hitter and then pulled when Tommy Pham hit in the 6th. So there's only 2 bench options left for the Cardinals, and that's one of them, Carpenter, who might have a chance here. One to Pena. That'll find the seats, and it's a ball and 2 strikes. Why not? A 2-2 tie between the Cardinals and Cubs late. It seems like these season series are always decided by a handful of games. Cardinals have had some early success against their rivals, having taken 3 out of the first 4.
Well, and you look at the division, you got 4 teams that are all crammed together. You know it's early, but even last season, the Cardinals kind of in the mix up until the end. The Brewers and the Cubs going at it until about mid-September. Pirates shocking everybody.
Beating up the Brewers today, a 9-0 shutout win behind Chad Kuhl. Dunsing's 1-2. Off the end of the bat, the cue shot to first. Rizzo flips to the pitcher covering to retire the side. Couple of walks, but no damage. And when the Cubs load back up in Joe Maddon's mystery machine to head back home on I-55, they'd like to bring a win with them. They're still tied at 2. Wednesday night, the Red Sox and Yankees. David Price and Masahiro Tanaka at 7 Eastern, and then Jess, Buster, Alex, and I will be in the desert for the Nationals and Diamondbacks a week from tonight, right here on ESPN. It'll be Greg Holland on to work here in the top half of the ninth. Well, Holland has not allowed a run in his last 5 home appearances, but as you can see by the overall numbers, they're not the kind of results that Holland himself is used to seeing. We know his story. Signed very late. Did not have the benefit of working in spring training. And as Mike Matheny described to us before the game, everybody takes a little bit of responsibility in Holland's rocky start as a Cardinal, no pun intended. Coming off that great year in Denver a season ago. The Cardinals were excited to have him, and to use Mike Matheny's terms, they wanted to unwrap their new toy probably a couple of days before they should have. Hoping now that this would be the equivalent to early April for Holland, who did not again have the luxury of pitching to real big league hitters in spring training. Makes quick work of Ian Happ.
And for Holland, the hallmark pitch for him, the slider. It backs up a little bit there. And the slider will come, the spin will come with more strength as he gets into his legs. As he matures, that slider will have a lot more depth.
Here's Javi Baez now, 1 for 3 tonight. One for 3, also Baez career line against Greg Holland. The 1 a home run.
And if you're Javi Baez, as hot as you've been with Holland on the mound, you know that if you get 10 pitches, 9 of them will be slider. So best thing you can do is think right center. Less is more.
Baez with a smash up the third baseline for Jerko, and that's 2 gone for Greg Holland in the ninth. You know, it's understandable the problems that Holland had without the benefit of spring training. And depending on who you believe and what you read, had a 3-year offer to return to Denver, said no, thinking there was something better out there. Ended up signing here in St. Louis, and without the spring training benefit, among his problems, fastball location. He's been kind of narrowed down to a 1-pitch guy. And now it's Jason Hayward. We do know that when he's right, Greg Holland is one of the game's best. And it's a breaking ball that starts Hayward with a strike.
Well, it was such a shock to see him sign late, just because I feel like where the market has gone, which it didn't go a lot of places this offseason, was to relief pitchers, especially closers. I mean, that's where the game has evolved, where I feel like no team has enough of good arms in the back end of a bullpen. So he was one of the shockers for me.
A clean night for him tonight. He gets through the Cubs quickly and efficiently to keep it tied and give the Cardinals a chance to walk it off at home. Well, the Cardinals and Cubs, as is usually the case, matching one another swing for swing and pitch for pitch in a 2-2 ball game that enters the bottom half of the ninth. St. Louis won it walk-off style in extra innings yesterday. They'll have a chance to do it in regulation tonight. They'll have the bottom of the order and a veteran bat to be used off the bench. Matt Carpenter will pinch hit to lead things off against Brian Dunsing.
Hey.
Dunsing got the final 2 outs in the 8th, stranding a pair after Carl Edwards Jr. had walked 2 hitters. Matt Carpenter, who's in the midst of a rough start by his own standards, with a chance to set the table here in the 9th.
Batting under 200, have been struggling. Mike Matheny talked about he's had a lot of hard hit balls. He's still top 12 in contact and making good contact. The one thing, though, that has been probably the most consistent for him is the amount of pitches he'll see per plate appearance.
Watson.
He does not swing a lot. He will take pitches just off the plate. Probably no one has a better eye than Carp out there in the game.
And in many occasions, better eye than the guy behind the plate. That last pitch that was called a ball, Matt has seen his share of those called incorrectly this year, and the numbers bear that out. You sound like you're making excuses for a guy, and Mike Matheny said to us today, look, it's buzzard's luck, and the numbers bear it out. It's not just a manager taking care of a player in an interview. Matt Carpenter has had more incorrect strike calls against him than any other player whose name isn't Jose Ramirez, that is. And we got the proof. Since the start of the 2017 season, only Ramirez with more called strikes that weren't in the strike zone.
Paul Goldschmidt's interesting who's on that list. Mookie Betts. You're talking about the hottest hitter in baseball right now.
Full count pitch. And Carpenter bounces it to first. Rizzo to Dunsing for out number 1. You know, back to the point you made when we went on the air, Jess, the fact that Osuna really hasn't gotten hot. Carpenter hasn't gotten hot. Cardinals are still in first place.
Yeah.
It just bodes well for the future when these guys start to hit, which you know they will. The back of the baseball card will tell you Matt Carpenter's going to hit. 1 gone now for the top of the order, Harrison Bader. Bader has struck out 3 times tonight, takes a curveball for a strike.
Dunsing is such a weapon for Joe Maddon. We talked about being able to lean on him for multiple innings. The advantage of being a former starter. With 4 pitches, the ability to hold runners on well, field his position, cover first base, neutralizes lefties and righties. Really a nice asset for Joe Maddon and the Chicago Cubs.
The 4th reliever used tonight behind John Lester, who went 5 1/3. And it's a ball and 2 strikes to Harrison Bader. Jim Hickey wants to know what's going on down in that Cubs bullpen. Nobody up and throwing. Also, nobody throwing up. Two and two.
You know, the Cubs pitching department does such a wonderful job. One of the guys in this, Mike Borzella, who works very closely with Jim Hickey. They've led the world in pitching the last 3 years. And of course, they brought home the World Championship in 2016.
Starting staff that's changed a little bit this year, adding Tyler Chatwood and Yu Darvish, subtracting Jake Arrieta, adding Jim Hickey as pitching coach.
Such a big focus for the Cubs in the offseason with his bullpen guys was after last year having a lot of trouble with strike throwing, get guys who would throw strikes, and by adding Cishek, Brandon Morrow, they wanted to give Joe Maddon as many different looks as possible, and we certainly have seen that tonight.
Well, Buster, tells you a little bit what Theo Epstein is, right? He basically changes his offensive coordinator and his defensive coordinator with pitching coach Jim Hickey and Chili Davis. So they were looking for a paradigm shift on both sides of the ball.
Well, for a team that expects to be there in the fall, it's about collecting as many pieces to work out of the bullpen as possible. We saw the Astros model last year, born of necessity, changing roles, starters being used as co-starters, if you will, to finish ball games. Bader sends one to shortstop for out number 2. It's been a long series. 11 pitching changes yesterday, extra innings. Each side has used 4 relievers tonight. Sam Tuivailala is up in the bullpen for St. Louis. We had a pair of half-an-hour rain delays tonight, and now it's Dexter Fowler.
Fowler yet to get a hit from the right side this season. Just the solo hit, 1 for 27 from the right side. Struggled. That's why Maddon likes this matchup as well. Dunsing can pitch to both, but in this case, to make Fowler stay, who's a switch hitter right-handed, is a win.
Yeah, this is an example of knowing the trend. Ordinarily, you wouldn't be that comfortable with this matchup, but as you mentioned, with Fowler struggling from the right side, it's an ideal time to let Dunsing go the full inning, or in this case, an inning and 2/3. Trying to get it to the 10th. The Cubs will have Ben Zobrist then, the top of the order, should it get there. We're batting about 500 with extra innings on Sunday night.
I was going to say, I'm
way.
surprised you haven't changed your scorecard. Like, you have a 9-inning scorecard. Like, when have we had a 9-inning game?
I'm
like,
a very optimistic person. There's a reason why it stops at 9.
No. You're jinxing us
Can you see
every single game. Mine goes to 13, okay?
Well, I mean, you're allowing for too many extra innings. That's the problem. This one goes to 11.
What do you have?
9.
I see 10.
And a swing and a miss. This one will go to at least 10. Extra innings in St. Louis as the Cubs and Cardinals are still knotted up at 2.
Yes, I love it.
Got some electricity in the air tonight. We've already endured a couple of rain delays this evening as the Cardinals go to the bullpen once again. Sam Tuivailala will be the 5th Cardinal reliever to work in this one this evening, and he'll get Ben Zobrist, then the top of the order, Contreras and Schwarber. This game's been knotted up at 2. ever since the RBI triple by Colton Wong in the last of the 6th. Zobrist came on in a double switch earlier. This is his first plate appearance of the game. Happening at 11:21 local time. The numbers on Sam Tuivailala making his 5th appearance of the year. Sinker slider guy who also features an occasional curveball. He gets a quick first out here in the 10th inning. Cubs have their bullpen busy as well. Brandon Morrow's up. Appearing in back-to-back games, not a big deal for a guy who appeared in all 7 World Series games a few months back as a Dodger.
Man, do they miss him.
One of the things they're missing this year. And a little fade pop off the bat of Contreras for a quick out number 2.
Talked about earlier in this game how much Kyle Schwarber has slimmed down. 30 to 40 pounds he put off. Just was on a mission this offseason to get into the best shape of his life. Not just in the gym like you classically see, but even a bunch of agility stuff, working on form with his hitting, stuff that he hasn't done to the extent that he did this offseason. And he has literally reshaped himself into the best that I've seen, the best shape I've seen. And I saw him in Omaha when he played for Indiana.
Hi.
On a mission to be better.
He's a beast. He takes a first pitch fastball for a strike.
He made a catch falling down. That was part of the agility stuff, by the way.
Yeah, that might not happen without the agility training.
I'm telling you, agility training helps you on a pop-up like this. If you're going back and you find yourself on your backside, oh, look, hey, get back up. I think that's part of the drill. Fall down, get back up.
And he lost his shoe.
Part of his shoe. Shoe replacement.
I mean, he looks like a different guy in a uniform. He looks so good. Good guy. And this guy, he is truly a student of the game. He studies as much film as anybody. He loves to hit. He loves baseball. He loves the history. I mean, if I'm a Cubs fan, this is a guy that I am very, very excited to see how he develops over the next 5 years.
Behind 1 and 2 here with 2 gone and nobody on in the 10th.
That conditioning, guys, maybe translating in the outfield. There's a defensive metric, defensive runs saved. Last year, he was a -9, one of the worst outfielders, left fielders in baseball. This year, he's a +1. He's a positive outfielder according to that metric, which tells you something about how he's moving.
You know, a lot of it traces back to last year, and I think it's true on both sides of the scorecard. We remember the much talked about AAA Iowa stay. He was sent down at the end of June last year, hitting 171 at the time, came back in July, and from that point through the rest of the season had an OPS of over 900. And in the offseason, where he made himself a leaner, meaner version. Here's the payoff pitch home to him. Little pop into foul territory. Nobody there because of the shift. And he'll have another chance. The only position player left for St. Louis is the catcher that was just called up from AAA this morning, Carson Kelly. So the longer this one goes, Francisco Pena, it's all you, big boy. Still full to Kyle Schwarber. Fade pop up again. This one into the seats.
You know, when it comes to endurance, Francisco should have absolutely no problem with endurance with his pedigree. His father played close to 20 years in the major leagues and another 20 years in winter ball with Las Águilas in Santiago, Dominican Republic. Pena is a good one.
And his dad, Tony Pena, wanted Francisco to be a catcher so badly, he trained him away from being his natural left-handed self. Does everything left-handed except for throw and play baseball. Tony noticed at a young age that Francisco was eating left-handed. Left hand was dominant. So the drill was as simple as this. Stack up a bunch of rocks in front of the young Francisco Pena and say, pick that up with your right hand. Now pick that one up with your right hand. Move it over here. And then go to the pile of rocks again.
Wow.
And move them another yard, all with your right hand.
It sounds like Tony Pena. I mean, he was my coach. And in 09, the year we won the championship in New York, he was in the clubhouse almost every day asking questions, shagging. And you knew how much he loved the game of baseball. But I'll tell you what, when it comes to, you got to think about, he is like a Harvard grad. Being the son of Tony Pena, who is as good and as smart when it comes to game calling and just being aware of the entire, much like Molina, Francisco Pena must be, he's 28, but he probably has the knowledge of a 38-year-old.
Still a full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes to a former catcher, Kyle Schwarber. And is he in swing mode or what? He puts this one in play for Ozuna. Nice 2-out battle put up there by Schwarber, but Tuivailala gets him in order in the 10th. Another chance for the Cardinals to walk it off.
Hey, let's win it right here. Come on.
Kenny Mayne and John Anderson are waiting to do Sports Center as soon as this ball game is over, and I feel like, you know, these are 2 of my favorite all-time Sports Center anchors, and I'm
we're
getting in
going
the
straight
way.
to the get-up tomorrow morning. Hand it off to Beetle and Greeny, Jalen.
It is Brandon Morrow to take over on the mound for Chicago. He'll deal with Jose Martinez, Marcell Ozuna, and Jed Jerko in the bottom of the 10th. So sometimes what happens in these extra innings games, you get to that midway point in the contest, the back third, and then it just goes into Dean Smith 4-corner stall mode. The last hit for the Cubs was Addison Russell's 6th inning double. The last hit for the Cardinals was Colton Wong's extra base hit, also in the 6th inning.
Remember the time, Alex, when you got to the bullpen and that's when the runs started scoring?
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
It's amazing the team's been no hit basically once the starters came out.
Oh.
2 balls and a strike to Capacito Martinez. Hey, Brandon Morrow's been great. Yesterday's blown save was an outlier. Still the 1.64 ERA in his 11 innings of work, striking out about a batter an inning.
I mean, Brandon Morrow has left a giant hole in that Dodger bullpen. And he was automatic last year for them. He's been automatic for the Cubs this year, with the exception of yesterday.
He was the setup guy for the Dodgers that handed the ball straight to Kenley Jansen, which was so huge. Now obviously closing for the Cubs.
And losing the leadoff hitter here on ball 4.
Capacito with a walk.
Martinez is aboard as the potential winning run here.
And Ozuna's got the strut, man. Coming up to the plate.
Well, with numbers like the ones he posted last year, his final year as a Marlin, you can understand the swagger. 37 home runs. 2 so far this year to start his Cardinal tenure. Winning run aboard to start the inning, and Ozuna takes a strike.
You know, I know Marcell Ozuna's off to a slow start, but this guy has been a terrific pickup for St. Louis and is going to pay great dividends.
A smash to third. Bryant knocks it down, gathers, and can't get it to first in time. Boy, that ball was coming in hot.
And that is an impossible play for Chris Bryant. An absolute rocket. This was the one play that I was not excited about when I came from shortstop to third base. This is catch it at your own risk. Terrific pickup. Good throw. This should be a clean base hit for Osuna.
Now there's an instance, Jess, where I'm curious about the exit velocity. Because that's some
100
hair on it.
plus, it's got to be. Getting that on record. 104, Mr. Exit velocity.
Okay. A visit on the mound now. And it is confirmed as a base hit by the official score. The winning run is at second with nobody out here in the bottom of the 10th inning. Jet Jerko has scored both of St. Louis's runs to date. One on a home run and one scored in front of a triple by Colton Wong in the 6th. He's faced Brandon Morrow once and has doubled against him. Again, with the Cardinals effectively out of bench options, only one bench option left for Mike Matheny. The thought of pinch running for Cafecito at second leaves your mind pretty quickly. I love saying that.
I love that he doesn't even know his nickname. Basically taking his dad's name and added the Cito to it.
He answers to it apparently.
You know, when you talk about launch angle, this is a situation where you actually do want to fly ball, preferably to right center field, which will get Cafecito over to third base, Martinez.
Big swing and a miss, a ball and 2 strikes.
You do not want a ground ball right now.
Morrow working in back-to-back games for the 3rd time this year. And he gets Jerko to go around on a slider. Big strikeout for Brandon Morrow and the Cubs.
And there's a terrific 1-2 slider. John Smoltz-like. I mean, for a guy that's looked that great, that always tells you that great pitching always beats good hitting. Nasty.
Boy, Paul DeYoung would love for this to be the moment that he cashes in with his first base hit of the month. He's walked twice tonight, struck out and lined out.
And also against Brandon Morrow in his career, 0 for 3 3-punch outs.
Buster the optimist.
Buster the realist.
Thank you, Matt.
Martinez and Ozuna aboard as DeYoung sends a slicing fly ball toward the stands and out of reach.
So I try to be the optimist here. You know, one thing about talking to Mike Matheny earlier today, he said that he's the kind of hitter that can strike out 7 or 8 times in a row. And because he's so thoughtful, he's actually processing information. And in the 8th or 9th at bat will come up with a big hit. Well, here's a big situation.
Just 5 for 27 this year with runners in scoring position. A ball and a strike. Winning run at second. DeYoung rolls one to shortstop. And that will send us to 11 tonight. That's right, America. This one goes to 11. You could probably just stay here. End of this one might roll into tomorrow night's game anyway.
I'm doing the game, so I think I'll just camp out.
Approaching midnight here locally, and that means it's time for snacks.
Alex, the snack giver. Look at him going through the bag, goodies. He's dropping everything for me.
I'd like to welcome you to Busch Stadium. My name's Alex. I'll be your server today. Can I get you started with a bag of nuts?
Just trying to be a good teammate. A-Rod, the waiter.
You nailed it.
Love it.
All right, to the top half of inning number 11, and Chris Bryant, the first to bat against Sam Tuivailala, who continues on the mound for St. Louis. Bryant, Rizzo, and Russell. And a breaking ball for a strike. We are close to being able to say Bryant homered yesterday in this game. Another good slider in for a strike.
Yesterday in the East Coast already.
Ah. I think a lot of fans feel like, and I've kind of felt this way too at times, you watch a game that gets deep into extra innings that's been kind of stuck, as this one has ever since the last hits of the game in the 6th.
Laker fan. Sombrero.
You're rocking the retro James Worthy.
With the sombrero.
But you feel like guys are trying to win it with one swing. Is that true, or is that just how we fans process these?
That's exactly right. You almost have a better chance of scoring if you say do not try to hit a home run. I know Joe Torre used to tell us all the time as we came in extra innings, hey guys, no heroes here. Think small and big things will happen.
Pena sneaking inside of Bryant. And they ring him up there. Surgeon-like by Sam Tuivailala.
I mean, this is a perfect pitch. And the courage that he hit that same pitch. It feels like 3 days ago for a home run, but it was in the same game. Great pitch, big courage.
Come right back to it.
So now Anthony Rizzo sitting on a hitless night so far. He did drive in a run with a sac fly in the first. Bench options thin on both sides of the scorecard. For Joe Madden, he's got Tommy La Stella available, and he's in the on-deck circle next. Russell having been double switched for earlier. That number 5 spot turned into the pitcher hole. And it's 2 balls and no strikes now to Anthony Rizzo. Into the opposite field for Ozuna. Yeah, I mean, everybody wants that homer here, right? Fans on both sides of the
How many
rooting interest.
Cubs Cardinals combinations have we seen tonight? I feel like every fan that we've shown is like both sides. They're all friends.
Everybody's nice here in this part of the country, I guess, right? If we're doing a Mets-Phillies game, it's not that kumbaya. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, Giants-Dodgers doesn't get that friendly either.
No. It is Tommy La Stella to pinch hit here, and laying off a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, the ball and a strike.
You know, the irony, we keep talking about home runs and launch angles, and it was Ben Zobrist who hit a 1-2 cutter of Brian Shaw, game 9th inning, game 7, to break a 108-year curse.
Ball and 2 strikes. Cubs fans can't get enough of this. Let's take you back a couple of falls ago.
It's a 1-2 pitch of Brian Shaw. Just great baseball. Keith Hernandez-like back in the day. And it's not the home run. Sometimes you just need a good at-bat. Be a baseball player. Ben Zobrist, as good as it gets when it comes to team baseball, taking pitches, situational hitting. Boy, is there a big value for that in today's game. More so today than ever.
A ball and 2 strikes to Tommy La Stella. Because the Cardinals have only one position player available, Sam Tuivailala is faced with the rare opportunity of perhaps getting a plate appearance in the bottom of the next inning. It'll be Wong, Pena, and then Tuivailala's spot in the order.
And I got to tell you, I know that umpires get a hard time, but Todd Tishner, the 8-year veteran, has done a terrific job tonight. And he got that one right.
Still 2-2 to La Stella, who's given him a pretty good battle up there.
There's the hero of game 7.
World Series MVP.
2016.
And La Stella wraps it to second base. We've said it a few times tonight. We'll say it again. Another chance for the Cardinals to walk it off and finish a sweep to the bottom of the 11th. Still tied at 2. Here's Colton Wong to lead things off in the last of the 11th. Another pitching change for the Cubs. They too are starting to run dry of options.
The third lefty in Joe Maddon's bullpen. Another guy with starter's arsenal. Has all 4 pitches: fastball, cutter, changeup. And a guy that can also go multiple innings.
Mike Montgomery pitched yesterday, stranded an inherited base runner in a scoreless 5th. And he gets Wong to bounce out to start the 11th inning tonight. They've got their MVP porch here at Busch, and Albert's name is on that board 3 times. So 5, 08, and 2009. This franchise has been blessed with so many of the game's great names, and Albert has his place here as well. So now Francisco Pena.
Nice change up there by Mike Montgomery.
Pena lost a top hand on that swing. I don't think that was by design. Cardinals used to have a hitting coach here by the name of Mitchell Page, who used to swing the bat like that as a young Oakland A in the 1970s. 1-1. A ball and 2 strikes. We talked about the possibility of Sam Tuivailala batting in his spot in the order. It would appear that that's not going to happen, as Carson Kelly, the last bench option for the Cardinals, has a bat in his hands, and Pena strikes out.
And here's a devastating wipeout slider. Francisco Pena making his best case that he foul tipped it. But Tishner says, no, you didn't. Strike 3.
So a little meeting on the mound now as Jim Hickey wants to just go through the reports on Carson Kelly. 23-year-old Cardinal called up from AAA Memphis when Yadi Molina was placed on the disabled list. As we mentioned, he is the last available position player on Mike Matheny's bench. So that's a dry group at this moment. Kelly will be an important guy moving forward in the absence of Yadi Molina.
Matt, I called around to different teams to get their scouting reports on him, and multiple teams told me that their scouts are telling him this is someone with leadership capability, someone who calls a good game, someone who's a good catcher. The question is the bat.
A ball and a strike. Well, the role of Cardinals backup catcher here is akin to that of the Maytag repairman. We don't need you very often because Yadi's got this. And there's a long list of very good big league players that can testify to that, from Tony Cruz to Einar Diaz to Mike DeFelice to Brian Anderson. They just don't get a chance to play much because Yadi's out there every day, every inning. It's going to be up to Carson Kelly and Francisco Pena to share those catching responsibilities for the next 6 weeks in Molina's absence.
Buster, you mentioned that Yadier Molina reminded you of an NFL cornerback, of how he shuts down the entire running game.
Right, it shuts down. Once you always hear that the shutdown cornerbacks and how that changes the rest of the defense.
Shutdown inning by the left-hander Mike Montgomery in the 11th. Yeah, keep playing.
Oh.
We feel you.
No place I'd rather be.
So we go to the top half of the 12th, where the Cubs will have Hap, Baez, and Hayward against another new pitcher on the mound for the Cardinals. Right-hander Mike Mayers will take over on the mound for St. Louis. He was recalled today for the 3rd time already from Memphis. Yeah, Mike has been that swing guy on and off the shuttle. When an additional arm is necessary, it's been his number called for 3 times this year. Hap takes a strike. It's 1-1. Four games for Mike Myers. A sub-1.5 ERA. Hap sends a shot out to left center field as Bader's under it for out number 1.
Now there's a fly ball right there, and everyone talks about launch angles. You know, the optimal number is from 10 to 30. But once you get north of 35, the hits start disappearing. After 40 and 45, they're gone.
That's your high pop fly to the infield.
Here's Javi Baez now. Baez has a single to his credit tonight.
I'm really interested to see what kind of work Brian Butterfield, one of the best third base coaches in the game. Nickname is Double Nickels for wearing 55. He came out of the Yankee farm system under the tutelage of Mark Newman. And if you talk to Derek Jeter in 1993 in North Carolina, he made 56 errors. And Butterfield worked with him and worked with him. Cut to 5 years of Gold Gloves for Derek Jeter. If you asked him today, he thanks and credits Butterfield.
So you're thinking that Brian Butterfield could be the key to unlock the next gear in Javi Baez's development.
Another pop fly for you, Alex.
I do. You know, we were talking a little bit about Addison Russell, and I talked to him a little bit about he is boring and he's steady, and I say that in the most complimentary way, because as a manager like Joe Madden, when you have a shortstop, you want him boring and steady, because that's what wins championships. I know the flash is good, but you don't want like a point guard that's going to lead the league in assists, but also in turnovers. Very unpredictable, and it breaks the hearts of fans at some point, sooner or later.
2 quick outs now for Jason Hayward. Oh yeah, we are sneaking up on the witching hour. We're told that might be a tick or two short, and that we've already reached midnight local time in St. Louis.
Oh, it hurt you.
They just shut off the ovens in the entire city. The last batch of toasted ravioli has already been served. 2 balls and no strikes to Jason Hayward.
Hey.
The Cubs have to schlep home after this one tonight. Now, we're not talking about a real long trip. It's not like they're heading to the West Coast. It's still a travel night, however. Cubs headed home after this ball game to take on the Miami Marlins.
You know, going back to Butterfield, he also helped convert Jorge Posada from a second baseman to an excellent 5-time world champion catcher. Butterfield is as good as they get, and what we call a baseball rat. He's here every morning, 11, 12 o'clock. First guy in, last one to go home.
Well, he loves it. You get into conversations with him, and it just comes out of him. And I mean, like you, he's the guy. It's midnight right now, and he's still reading stuff. He's still honed in. I mean, he's one of those people that just doesn't want to leave the field.
Such a great pickup for Theo Epstein to surround these great young players, assets, and put a great leader and have them under his tutelage. Brian Butterfield is as good as they get.
Hayward into the opposite field, slicing. Ozuna's in the corner there, and it's a couple of rows in.
Something else about Brian Butterfield, I don't know if he can see it, but under his uniform there's a Patriots jersey that he's wearing. He's a product of Maine, and he's obsessed with the New England Patriots, and he gets a hard time from players about this.
I would imagine. Still a full count to Jason Hayward, 3-2. Batting here with the bases empty, 2 gone in the top of the 12th inning in a 2-2 tie. That's ripped into right, a base hit. Hanger that was relatively easy pickings for Jason, and he's aboard.
Great swing here by Hayward. Backdoor, little hanging slider. Trying to throw a strike, does, and Hayward head down. Thing of beauty.
His first hit of the season on a non-fastball. He was batting 0 heading into this game. 110 mile an hour off the bat. Exit velo, Matt.
Okay, a bye. It's the first Cubs hit since Addison Russell's extra base hit in the 6th.
Now, since you're punchy and it's extra innings, Matt, and you're buying exit velocity, is this the night you're signing up for Twitter?
Yes.
Let's not go crazy, Buster. We get into the 20th inning, I'll consider it.
I'm stealing his phone in the break. Matt Vasgersian's going to have a Twitter account. What's your handle going to be when we get to the 20th, Matt?
You'll never find me. You'll never find me.
No, but you'll get Alex here to tag you one time, and they will all find you.
I know that. Ball and no strikes. The count is
Buster
over.
too.
Let's put it this way. If I was on social media, I would follow all three of you.
Yes.
1-1. Hey, by the way, that base hit by Hayward is the first allowed by a Cardinal reliever in this game. And it seems like we've been in the bullpens for the last few hours.
I just like it when you start running out of players and pitchers start hitting and
Got
everyone's out of position.
Yeah. We saw Mike Matheny almost have to warm up a pitcher a couple of innings ago. 2-1.
Not to pitch.
You think about the 80s Cardinals and how they architect those teams. You basically have one slugger, a smasher in the middle, Jack Clark, that can actually hit 30 home runs. And then you had 7 players. The Vince Coleman, Willie McGee, Tommy Herr, Van Slyke, Terry Pendleton, that were rabbits, that were all great defenders with great starting pitching from Tudor to Andujar, Danny Cox. That was fun baseball to watch every day.
Yeah, how times have changed, right? When George Hendrick would lead the Cardinals with like a dozen home runs, and they'd still score, and they'd pitch like crazy. You forgot the left-hander Joe McGrain in that equation. Yeah,
that's a good one. And remember the old Busch Stadium? It was 383 in the gaps and 314 Center Valley. When you played against them, it was a track meet. They were going to run from the first inning to the ninth.
Artificial turf, hot as blazes out there. You had guys wearing wet cabbage underneath their hats to try to stay cool.
Okay, as you just ran down that whole roster, Alex, you just confirmed you are a baseball nerd at heart. Welcome to the club.
I am a hidden analytics nerdy.
There's Willie McGee, one of the all-time greats from that vintage.
Number 51.
And Ben Zobrist with a base hit. That's going to wrap Hayward around to third. The go-ahead run at third base.
I know that's not launch angle, but boy, do I love this brand of baseball. First and third, hit behind the runner. I love it. And if I was Joe Madden, I wish I had 4 or 5 of these guys.
Joe Madden does. I mean, Ben Zobrist is his poster child. He had him in Tampa. Got him here to Chicago, and Jason Hayward, automatic. Because this ball didn't have a lot of exit velocity, it allowed Hayward to get to third base easily. And you're right, Alex. Zobrist with the simple mentality, just hitting behind the runner, finds a hole.
Love him.
Wilson Contreras now. To reset the big picture here, the Cubs have a 4-game losing streak that they'd like very much to snap out of tonight. They've got to head back home. Yes, it's a softer portion of the schedule ahead, but Joe Madden wants to get out of here with a win and avoid being swept in the home of division rival. The single and the run came in the very top of the first inning for Wilson Contreras. 0 for 4 since then with a couple of strikeouts. Myers 0-1.
And if Contreras gets to 2 strikes here, I would not be surprised if Joe Madden puts the game in motion a little bit with Zobrist, trying to steal a game-winning run with Hayward.
You can't discount anything with Joe Madden pushing the buttons, as Contreras shoots that one foul down to his last strike now.
See, that's an example of 1-1. Looking for something that you can get through the infield instead of something that you can foul off like a 2-strike swing. Contreras on 1-1 took a pitch off the plate that he just tried to foul off instead of trying to do something with.
As an infielder, everything's hot right now. You got to expect anything from the Cubs offense.
Still the ball and 2 strikes.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is if you're a shortstop second baseman, number one, I want to know if Mike Matheny has a throw through, meaning if he goes, does Francisco Pena throw? That's one question. The other thing that comes into play is the delay steal. Okay, all they want to do is induce a throw to second base and have Hayward try to walk to home plate and steal get a cheap run.
Jam shot roller to third for Jerko to retire the side without incident. Cardinal bullpen has been terrific tonight. Still tied at 2. Bullpens have been terrific tonight. Top of the order here for the Cardinals against Mike Montgomery.
Oh! Outside.
Cardinal pitchers tonight 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Here are the overall numbers. Just 4 hits combined in over 12 innings of work between the two pens tonight.
Major League managers love having 2 left-handers out of the bullpen. The luxury for Joe Madden to carry 3. And 3 good ones.
Bader pops it up. Well, we have seen in this game all 3 of the Cubs left-handers. The only Cub reliever that hasn't worked yet is Pedro Strop. Luke Farrell as well. So 2 arms that have not gotten into the box score yet. There's a guy that Joe Madden calls Stropey.
Getting lonely in the bullpen.
Yeah. We talk about the Cubs having to travel tonight to go back home to start that series against the Marlins. The Marlins played in Cincinnati today. They've been resting comfortably in their hotel for the last few hours. And there are 2 quick outs here in the last of the 12th.
Hey, Matt, someone reached out on Twitter and just mentioned that Bob Carpenter, who of course does broadcast the Nationals games, he has a 15-inning scorecard. I'd be happy to lend it to you maybe.
A little promo there.
Did that tweet happen to come from Bob Carpenter himself, who's been trying to sell me a scorecard for the better part of a decade?
That was my first scorecard.
It could be yours for $49.99. To that I say, see you later, Bob. I got my own.
That he's now. I don't even know what you've done to it.
It's a mess. I should buy Bob's scorecard. It's actually very good. This is just don't try this at home, kids. 9 innings is all you got.
Not with this crew.
We're just getting started.
Alex has hit like a 4th wind.
I don't know where he's finding this gear.
Granola bar and Starbucks.
And he's changed his voice.
Speaking of Starbucks, Cafecito is my new favorite nickname.
Yeah.
I mean, it's perfect.
Oof.
Oh, Cafecito.
Cafecito has got some Jorge Soler in that big long pass of his too, right? Wow. Proud of his Venezuelan roots.
1 and 2, yeah.
A ball and 2 strikes. Well, if Martinez can keep the inning going. The Cardinals should have a man aboard in front of their run producers, Ozuna and Jerko next. Ozuna's been conspicuously quiet tonight. Jerko has homered, doubled, and walked. Little tapper back to the mound to send this game to a 13th inning tonight. Creeping up on our second 7th inning stretch. Still a 2-2 affair. Somebody's 4-game streak will come to an end tonight. Cubs have lost 4 in a row. Cardinals have claimed 4 straight victories. And we start the top of the 13th with Kyle Schwarber. The right-hander Myers continues on the mound after a scoreless 12th. And Schwarber sends a bouncing ball to Colton Wong. Well, so now back to Chris Bryant, who has homered tonight. His 4th of the year came to lead off the 4th inning. His only hit of the night so far.
So I have an extra innings confession for you guys.
Let's have it. What do you got?
Last year, when we had the Cubs and the Yankees at Wrigley Field, 6 hours and 5 minutes, more than 500 pitches, 18 innings.
What's the confession, Buster?
Well, I was waiting for the pitch, and I was going to get to it.
Tease.
Yeah, we do have plenty of time.
So the game ends. The Yankees win in the Star interview, post-game interviews with Starlin Castro, and I ask him a question, and I get halfway through my second question, and I'm so delirious at that point, I realize I'm asking him the exact same question twice in a row.
What was the question? Do you remember? That it was
Yeah,
so
right.
good you had to repeat it?
But here's the great thing. He gave me a completely different answer because he was as delirious as I was.
I am amazed at the continued attendance tonight. Two balls and a strike to count to Chris Bryant with 1 out and the base is empty.
Oh. I mean, you got premium seating. You can sit wherever you want.
What a great baseball town. This is still a town where baseball is still numero uno.
No doubt. Bryant with a sharply hit ground ball to short for DeYoung. And there are 2 away. So once again back to Anthony Rizzo. We started the night by talking about how the 3 and 4 spots for the Cubs, despite the great talent there and the great players in Bryant and Rizzo, really haven't been as productive yet as we're pretty sure they will be when we revisit this back in September, fast forwarding. And Myers works a quick 13th. We go to the bottom of the inning. Ozuna, Jerko, and DeYoung to try to win it for the Cardinals. Mike Montgomery continues, and given his ability to give the Cubs a lot of length, we don't know exactly where this one will settle into the night. Here's Marcell Ozuna to lead things off in the home half of inning number 13. The longest game of the year so far was March 30th, day 2 of the schedule, when the Marlins defeated the Cubs 2-1, 17 innings worth of baseball. 1-1. A ball and 2 strikes to Ozuna. Sticking around to see the outcome. You bet.
I feel like they were teenagers when that game started. This game.
And a wave and a miss by Ozuna. Well, maybe it's Jed Jerko.
He had a good beginning to the night. Home run, double, walk. Back in the 2nd inning. That was Sunday. Crushed a fastball middle. Score the first run for the Cardinals.
And we talked about Jerko being basically a professional home run hitter. I mean, he resembles sometimes a softball player that can just launch. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. He was also an all-state player, basketball, his junior and senior year in high school in West Virginia.
So was Mike Montgomery down the road from me at Hart High School. Basketball,
A
baseball
little
player.
1-on-1 basketball. I love it.
I think Montgomery might take him. Depends. I think they're 2 different positions.
Ball and 2 strikes to count to Jed Jerko. DeYoung next with 1 away and the base is empty to 2-2 now. Jed Jerko is very consistent, yet there's a different gear he gets into when he faces his old employer, the San Diego Padres. Since 2016, his first year here in St. Louis, he's hit 7 home runs against the Padres in 36 at-bats. That's a homer every 5 ABs. Against the rest of the league, he homers once every 18 at-bats. Off the end of the bat for Montgomery, and a little bounce pass unintentionally, not John Lester style. And that's out number 2.
Nice play there by Anthony Rizzo. A little bit nonchalant here by Montgomery.
And the anticipation builds, Matt, for you to start a Twitter account. A lot of people are mentioning it on Twitter. You're 7 innings away.
Yes. I think we need to do this to please
if this
the
game,
fan.
if this goes to a 20th inning, opening a Twitter account will be the least of my worries. And here's Paul DeYoung now with 2 gone. DeYoung takes a strike. I mean, the fans look exhausted tonight.
Oh, hey.
Still mustering up a smile.
Oh, boy.
Oh, God.
2 balls and a strike.
It is so rare to have multiple guys in the bullpen that Joe Madden has that can go through a lineup once, twice, and sometimes 3 times. And you have that with Montgomery.
And to be able to kind of, push the right buttons to get it to this point. There could have been an opportunity for Madden to call Montgomery's number earlier. As it happened, he saved him for exactly the right moment. But there was a lot of talk of Montgomery being kind of groomed for the rotation at one point. He was such an important part of their World Series championship a couple of years ago.
He
Kind of
pitched the
stayed in
final
the same
out.
role. Yeah,
Game 7.
that's right.
Montgomery struggled as of late. Joe Madden talked about getting him an opportunity to get in, to be able to work through some of it. Of course, I don't know if you imagine the 12th and 13th of tonight's game.
Well, the Cardinals have struggled against left-handed pitching all year long, and boy, here it is. I mean, scratch him off. Only Luke Farrell and Pedro Strop remain in the Chicago pen, and there's still a little meat on the bone with Montgomery. Here's Colton Wong now. The Cardinals averaged a .223 batting average against southpaws and a .363 slugging percentage against lefties at the start of the night. Those ranked in the bottom part of the league, and those numbers are going to go down even more as a result of this night. 1-1 to Wong.
Now, Wong is an old school guy from Hawaii. As a youngster, he worked on his baseball swing by cutting down trees with an axe.
Come on.
You gotta love it.
That sounds like one of those old baseball tales to me.
No, his dad was serious. He tells great stories about it.
You got any stories, Buster?
Got a lot of stories. Actually, I was going to mention this to you guys. After the game yesterday, Colton Wong did a live interview here on local TV. He said a lot of Cubs fans came out. I'm glad we could make them angry. I'm paraphrasing. Cardinals Nation, let's go, baby. When I asked him about that today, and I said, man, you got a lot of reaction in social media from Cubs fans. He goes, I love it. He said the Cubs players, they get it. It doesn't bother them, but he couldn't believe how many Cubs fans are at this series.
Yeah, they travel well. And it's not just because St. Louis is a short drive. I mean, they're going everywhere these days. That misses in to fill the count, 3-2. Contreras wanted that pitch down and away. Well, I mean, this constitutes a rally here in extra innings. You can at least send the runner here with 2 gone and a full count. Francisco Pena waits on deck. Something in the gap, maybe. There goes DeYoung, and Wong sends it back up the middle. Great backhanded play by the veteran Ben Zobrist. You know, the Cub with the most salt in his cap, getting it done past midnight on a school night.
I'm going to pass on that question, and the question being asked on Twitter is, what is your handle going to be? Here are some of the ideas. Never thought I'd do this. Santa Maria, thanks 20-inning Cubs cards.
All strong candidates. Victor Caratini will pinch hit, leading things off in the Chicago half of inning number 14. We're 3 outs away from our second 7th inning stretch. It's gotten so dire we hear sirens outside the ballpark. Victor Caratini is the last available option on either side tonight. As you know, you hang on to that backup catcher as long as you can, but both have been used officially with Caratini pinch hitting.
Just got a text from my former teammate Phil Hughes, who is very comfortable in the fine confines of his hotel room, getting ready for the game right here tomorrow night, 7:10 on ESPN.
See you soon, Phil.
This could be like an NCAA tournament situation where the Twins could actually come here and watch the end of this one. Ball and 2 strikes to the pinch hitter Victor Caratini. We've talked about the options used out of Joe Madden's bullpen. Mike Matheny's bullpen is held up just as well. Matt Bowman and Ryan Sheriff, the last options for him. They'd like to avoid having to use Bud Norris, who exited yesterday due to injury. one of those still remaining for the Cubs, Luke Farrell, has started an assignment. We know that there's at least one guy in Bristol still awake watching this game tonight, and that's Luke's dad, John.
Bookend to the broadcast, right? Started with John on Baseball Tonight.
Popped him up. Or as Harry might have said, pow. One away here in the 14th. And they're dropping like flies.
They should get a teacher's note or a parent note. Stay home from school tomorrow.
Right. Here's Ian Happ now. 2 runs on 8 hits for both sides. 1 error by the Cardinals tonight. There have been 19 base runners left stranded. And Happ could use some good news. Without a hit tonight, he does have a couple of walks on his line. Happ goes down swinging.
I think the most difficult job in Major League Baseball today is to be a hitting coach. There's a nice little backdoor changeup. I'm sorry, slider. It didn't do much. Never got there. But thinking about Chili Davis, a guy that spent the last 30 years playing, coaching, and watching Major League Baseball, whatever he thought worked for 100 years, now he has to teach something that he didn't do and he didn't believe for a very long time. I do not envy that position.
What's something he has to teach that he didn't do as a player?
Well, I think, look, and I hate to say when I played and all that, but at the end of the day, Edgar Martinez and Ken Griffey Jr., when I walked into the major leagues as an 18-year-old, they sat me down in a corner, the 3 of us, and they said, young man, you hit ground balls and neck-high line drives. Home runs are accidents. In today's game, it's opposite. Hitters go out and try to hit home runs, and if you hit a line drive, that's an accident. I'm just not a believer in that brand of baseball. I'm not saying it's wrong, it's just not for me.
A ball and a strike to Javier Baez.
Oh no.
Well, it's pretty easy to see how in a moment like this, and we've been in that moment for about an hour plus now, those fundamentals can kind of evaporate. And even a guy with the best of intentions, trying to hit the ball on the line, trying to hit to the opposite field, it'd be easy to see how a guy could take the bait and try to be the hero with one swing of the bat. Baez might just be that guy. To deep central and gone.
And Javi Baez has been swinging for this all night long, and he finally connects. Looked like a little cement mixer right there. 85 miles an hour, did not do much, and Baez knew exactly what to do with it. Towering, and it had the sound. They are dancing in the streets of Chicago.
Home run number 9 for Baez. He's gone deep in back-to-back games, and now it's Hayward.
Well, Baez has been the guy this season. No one has had a better slugging percentage versus right-handed pitchers than Javier Baez this season.
He is likely headed to D.C. this summer for an all-star appearance for the first time, having a great year. Hayward follows with a rocket to second that Wong makes a play on. Well, the Cardinals are backed up finally. They'll head to the bottom of an extra inning, trailing by a run. Francisco Pena the first to face him. Big opportunity for Farrell, his first big league save chance. He starts with a strike. Farrell making his 6th appearance out of the Cubs bullpen tonight. He took the loss yesterday. And right back out there with a chance to show everybody how short his memory is tonight. Farrell came up from AAA Iowa on April 20th, where he had a pair of starts, made his big league debut last season, got a start with the Kansas City Royals.
Farrell's got that downhill fastball, good curveball top to bottom. What's unique about him is you see pitchers that will get on one side of the rubber. So take a look at Miles Mikolas, starting pitcher on deck.
Yeah, not a lot of options, so that's what we're looking at next. Is Mike Matheny's best chance as a reliever. Miles Mikolas is the guy that's going to get the chance to swing the bat. And then he'll be followed by the top of the order, Harrison Bader.
Great asset being 6'6" as a hitter. Much harder to pick up the ball.
Swing and a miss. Strikeout for Farrell. One gone in the 14th.
Nice 2-2 slider here, set up by the good fastball, attacking the zone. Looked like a strike, and it wasn't.
And Alex, not only 6'6", hard to see, but he likes to create angles with where he stands on the rubber, and you'll see a lot of pitchers do that. What you don't see them do is change where they're at on the rubber depending on if it's a righty or lefty. He's on the third base side now to righties to create that angle to come across the plate that he does a lot. He likes to get to that glove side. If a lefty was up, he'd be on the other side of the rubber, the first base side of the rubber, to create a different angle.
Very unusual for pitchers to do that.
By the way, Miles Mikolas is comfortable with the bat in his hands. As pitchers go, that is. He has homered in his career. It came earlier this year. He's behind Farrell 0-2. Got him on 3 pitches.
Much like the former Royal and Met Chris Young, who was 6'10", created really tough angles as a hitter. Fastball played up, slider very hard to pick up. You just don't see that type of height and that type of length as a hitter.
Yeah, Luke is a big guy. Measures at a conservative 6'6", 200. And he is an out away from picking up his first major league save. Harrison Bader with a sharp one-hopper to the shortstop hole. Throw to first is a little wild. Luckily for the Cubs, it does not bounce into the stands. Came back off that protective railing in front of the dugout. That means Bader stays at first.
We talked in the pregame about Baez being a human highlight film. Here's an absolute great situation, opportunity to end the game with an exclamation point. Luckily, that ball did not go into the dugout.
Dexter Fowler now. Baez kind of grimaced after making that off-balanced, awkward throw. Fowler's been quiet tonight.
And if you're Mike Matheny, you give him 2 shots to pop one or maybe hit a ball in the gap. With 2 strikes, expect Matheny to put the game in motion and maybe release him.
Bader stays put. Fowler takes a strike. Great opportunity for Luke Farrell. Changed uniforms a couple of times last year. Traded by the Royals to the Dodgers in July. Claimed by the Reds off of waivers in August. Claimed by the Cubs off waivers in October. And he's a strike away from wrapping it up tonight.
Again, Todd Tichenor's had a terrific night behind the plate. Too close to take. Strike.
We talk about Luke Farrell ending the season with the Reds last year, and as such had an opportunity to do something that not many have done, and that's pitch in a game where his dad was the opposing manager. First time that had happened since 2004, when Moises Alou, then a Cub, played against Dad Felipe's Giants. Still a ball and 2 strikes. Kenny Mayne and John Anderson standing by with Sports Center. When or if we get a final score tonight. Farrell still a strike away from delivering just that.
And this is a big pitch here coming up. If you're Mike Matheny and the Cardinals, you really want this pitch to go to 3-2 because you want to release Harrison Bader from first base. Putting into play a long single ties the game. Big pitch here for Farrell. Put him away right now.
The 2-2. Fowler swings and sends a ball into the right field corner. Hayward up and over the fence. Hayward got a glove on it, but Dexter Fowler has just walked it off. Santa Maria. Baez homers in the top of the inning. The Cubs were a strike away from escaping this series with a win until this.
Fastball meant to go away, missed low and in. The sweet spot to every left-handed hitter. Just dropped the head. Home run hits the top of the wall. And Dexter Fowler, a player, a catalyst to the 2016 Cubs, comes back to bite his former teammates.
Jason Hayward had a jump on this, just missing. It almost looked like he helped it over, but seeing the replay, it was going out no matter what. Barely clearing the wall. Hayward getting as close as he possibly can, just missing the glove.
A quarter of an inch away from the catch of a lifetime. Instead, it's Dexter Fowler's first career walk-off home run. And in dramatic fashion, the long one was worth the Cardinals' wait.
Oh, this hurts for Chicago, going back home. 2 walk-offs and 2 nights to be on the losing end. And this one probably the worst.
Four 3 Cardinals, the final score tonight. They finish a 3-game sweep against their division rivals. A reminder, tomorrow on ESPN, the Cardinals stay home to welcome the Minnesota Twins. Coverage starts at 8 Eastern. For Alex Rodriguez, Jessica Mendoza, and Buster Olney, Matt Vasgersian saying good night from St. Louis. 4-3 Cardinals, the thrilling final tonight. Let's send you to Sports Center with Kenny Mayne and John Anderson. We'll see you in the desert next Sunday.